All right, good evening, and welcome to the Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020 Conservation Commission meeting of the town of North Andover. Just a brief announcement for tonight's meeting format. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, MGL Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the North Andover Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties who have a right or obligation or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so on their televisions by tuning to Comcast Channel 8 or Verizon Channel 26 or online at www.northandovercam.org. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of North Andover website or an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. If the public would like to participate in the public hearings, please email your comment or question prior to or during the meeting to amaxner@northandoverma.gov. The question or comment will be read during the proceedings and responded to accordingly. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll start off with Joe, you'll be first, followed by Al, followed by myself, then Jack Mabin and Sean. So, Joe, you are here?
I am here, yes.
Very good. Al, you're here?
I'm present.
I am here. Jack, are you here?
Present.
Very good. Sean?
Present, sir.
Okay. First order of business is approval of minutes for August 22nd and September 9th. I'm looking for a motion.
No, August 26th only. I didn't get to September 9th.
Oh, sure. Okay, August 26th, motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. Secondly, small project NACC number 262, 183 Cotuit Street.
All righty. So this is an after-the-fact small project permit for 183 Cotuit. They are looking for an approval under Category L. I had observed work at this address at the stage of brick paver installation preparation. I asked the homeowner to cease work and immediately file for a small project upon consultation with the chairman, his determination that this would be appropriate. Work involves installation of a dry laid granite and brick paver patio totaling 292 square feet, and installation of landscape planting beds and lawn. All of the work is at the front of the house, and the closest part of the work, which is really one of the landscape beds, is 75 feet from the bank of an intermittent stream at the rear of the property. And that was based on my field measurements. No erosion was observed at that time, and work was well contained between the street and the front of the house. So the house is basically acting as erosion control. And I don't believe there's any threat to erosions to the stream from this work. So I would recommend that you find that this is a small project under Category L and approve of the project and require that just a post-construction inspection be set up with the Conservation Department.
Also, I'd like to interject the grade. I talked to Amy on it, and the grading that little that was done was all graded toward the street, so it's no water, dirty water was going toward the stream. Joe?
No questions.
Al?
No questions.
Jack,
No questions.
Sean,
No questions.
motion?
Move to approve as an L, and a second motion to put in the condition of post-construction inspection.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
First is RDA's, next, it's Mill Pond Townhouses.
All righty. So this project involves removal of approximately 180 linear feet of a dilapidated rotted post and rail fence that is located along a section of Chickawick Brook. Installation of the new vinyl fence will be in the same location. Some vegetation around the old fence will be cut back just to facilitate installation of the new one. And as noted in the application, the existing fence is at the top of a steep embankment at the brook, and the new vinyl fence is needed for safety reasons as well as aesthetics. Work is within the 200-foot riverfront and is within 25 feet of the bank of the brook at the existing edge of the common areas that experience routine mowing. This condition has been in place for quite some time. Okay, so the new fence will act as a barrier to encroachment, trash disposal, dumping, and the like. And all work will be accomplished by hand with no wheeled equipment. I confirmed that with the project engineer. So I can give you my recommendation, or if you have questions at this point.
Oh, I give you recommendations, and then we'll have questions.
Okay. Let's see. So I recommend closing the hearing and issuing a negative number 3 and a negative number 2 with the following conditions. That vegetation shall only be cut back, but the root systems be left intact. The new fence shall maintain at least 4 inches of space between the ground and the bottom member of the fence to allow for wildlife movement. All excavated soils from the post hole shall be immediately removed from the site and disposed of properly, and then a post-construction inspection scheduled with the Conservation Department to verify compliance.
Thank you, Amy. Joe, any questions?
Just a comment more than a question. I think there's an opportunity here, given the fact that it's safety and they really don't want people over the back of the fence. I think it's an opportunity to get 3 to 5 placards on the fence posts. Inform people that it is a resource area.
Yeah.
I know the site's very old and grandfathered, but I think there's an opportunity here to get those placards in.
Yep. Good point.
That's it. That's all I have.
Thanks, Joe. Al?
Based on the recommendations, I have no questions.
Thank you. Jack?
Yeah, I really just have one question, and it's more for Amy as she's walked the site. What's the condition of invasives, in and around the area of proposed work?
It's not horrible from what I recollect. I can look closer if you would like, pre-construction.
Well, I asked the question because this seems to be a perfect opportunity to, condition, some treatment for whatever invasives are there, whether it be knotweed or purple loose stripe or, whatever the conditions are. This would be a good way to do that. Just in the interest of being complete.
Sure.
So
yeah,
we could add a condition to do the treatment and have the details worked out by you with the applicant.
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
Makes sense. Sean?
No questions, Lou.
Okay. then we need a motion.
To close.
This
and-
is,
Oh, go
yep,
ahead.
this is Sean. I'll move to close. And let me get back to Amy's recommendation. Yeah. Let me get there. And with issue a -3 and the number 2, with the 4 recommendations she made, as well as Joe's suggestion of placards and Jack's recommendation for inspection and removal of invasives.
Second.
All right.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. The next one is Smashbit, excuse me, am I right? Yeah, Smashbit commuter right away. Before we start this, I got a letter from Amy, and one of the recommendations from Kolis is to choose simply respond to the IDA form that is asking if resource are accurate with a positive 2A. That was a recommendation by the applicant and reinforced by Amy. So if you want to have a discussion on it, we can read it and go through it. It's up to you.
Right, so just quickly, Kolis submits an RDA every 5 years for their MVP, and they look for certain determinations. We as the conservation community received a letter from MACC with their opinion that the determination should be strictly relative to the wetland resource area maps and the delineation of the wetlands, as opposed to -2 for work and a -5 for the exemption of a public service facility. So in my recommendations, I state that the actual RDA form asks for the commission's determination whether the resource areas are accurate. Boundaries. Their cover letter recommends that you issue also a number 2 determination that the work will not alter the resource areas, and a number 5 citing the exemption that I mentioned earlier. So, I think if we want to be proper in terms of how we respond to an application, I think the request on the actual form is most appropriate. So that would be a positive 2A stating that the resources as shown on the map in the application are accurate, and that work would need further review.
Okay, Joe?
So I'm looking at the map and I've got some curiosity here. Why are several locations in North Andover designated as no spray zones, and why? Because some of them seem to be outside of resource areas, yet they don't want to spray there. Yet there are others that are perhaps in areas that may be sensitive that we don't know. There's no level of accuracy in this map, but I just can't understand why they've designated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 locations in North Andover that are no spray. I'm just curious why that is.
Well, all I can say is that it is exactly the same map that the commission reviewed in 2016.
Okay,
So that
I'm not arguing that it might be different, but I'm just, for some reason, whoever is in charge of their vegetation management has a particular concern, or maybe just a reason, if not a concern, for not spraying in some areas, and how do we know how they correlate to resource areas? And that begs the bigger question is, do we even know the level of accuracy of where we should be more concerned or not?
Mm-hmm.
Based on this map, and this is the only documentation we have. Now, you probably have a full vegetation management plan, Amy, that was delivered, and again, it's probably just a rewrite of the one from 5 years ago.
Right.
But and at the end of the day, Keolis is going to come in and do what they want to do anyway. But those are my comments on this, and really it almost seems like it's a rubber stamp, and I guess that bothers me. That's all I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Al?
Thank you. I don't necessarily agree that it's a rubber stamp, Joe, but I understand the point you're making. I'm just gonna. I've read all the letters and supporting documentation, and I have the MACC letter in my hand, and I'm satisfied with the recommendation of the MACC, and the recommendation is to issue a positive 2A, and then it goes on with respect to the application of herbicides within buffer zones. My opinion, respectfully, is to follow the recommendations of the MACC guidance.
Okay, and I guess that speaks to my question, Al, and exactly that is, because we issue it positive and we think we know where the resource areas are, that's when they come in and give us more detail.
And that's what it says. It says once the boundaries have been approved in a positive determination, the rail companies are entitled to a presumption that the application of herbicides in the buffer zone will not alter wetlands. So it clearly puts the ball in their court. It doesn't give them a rubber stamp. And at the end of the day, they always have the right to file for a superseding order with DEP if they don't like what we do. But I just think that, after listening to Amy and reading the letter, we should start out with a positive 2A and go from there.
Yeah, and I don't have those documents in front of me, Al, but typically when we do a positive, we're actually approving a known resource line, but we don't have that in this instance. So is 2A vague enough to just simply have them come in along the entire corridor and address where they think the resources areas are or not?
Well, what it says is they recommend the commissions only issue a positive determination of 2A or 2B, approving or rejecting the wetland boundary, and not a negative determination 2 or 5 as requested. It says
we don't have a known wetland boundary. They haven't presented one.
So
honestly, they never do. These maps are boilerplate for.
Okay, so does a positive 2A get us there? It gets us started in that direction, right?
I think positive is the entire corridor until they define where the boundaries are. They haven't presented any. So that's my point. As until they tell us where the boundaries are, we have nothing to review.
So in other words, the MACC recommends a positive 2A. You're taking it a step further and saying we ought to just issue a positive.
I don't want to go against the MACC, but the reality is MACC's is predicated upon a positive 2A in those areas where the resource areas are agreeable. We don't know what they are. They've never presented them to us.
In that case, I have no objection to just a positive and just let the chips fall.
That's where I'm leaning out. I didn't mean to step on your speech here. But,
no, you didn't. You didn't step on me at all. I appreciate the input. I'm okay. I'm perfectly okay with a positive, and I yield to the chairman.
Thank you. Jack, any input?
Yeah, I mean, my main question is, why isn't the resource boundary been defined? Usually that.
Excuse me. We'd like to hear from the commissioner first, then you can respond. Jack?
Yep. My question was really along the lines of both Joe and Al. Why we find that's usually the burden of the applicant. So it actually seems like this filing is premature. But I will add that they're asking for a 5-year extension of their VMP, and usually we consider that in the context of how they've done with their previous 5 years of the VMP, and I think that's maybe one of the most important factors of considering this. So I guess it's a question. Amy, do we have documentation? Have they filed documentation on time? Have they basically stayed within, the requirements defined by the commission from the previous EMP from 2016?
Right. Yeah, I would say so, yes.
So they've been a good applicant in their previous BMP. Yet it seems like some parts of this submission are incomplete at this point. And in Deb's position on the board, I concur with Joe and Al.
Okay. Sean? Sean?
Did we lose him?
He may have muted.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
I'm sorry. No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. So we need a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. The applicant wants to speak.
Do we have anyone on the line for Kolis this evening?
I thought I heard somebody.
No, I think that was just Jack getting a little, reverb or feedback on his end.
Okay.
Yeah, Jack definitely had some reverb, no question.
Yep.
No.
Okay.
Yep, that was definitely it.
All right. So let's get a motion going.
Interesting. Okay. So, all right. So do you want me to just read the options for a positive determination to make sure we know what we're issuing?
You can, but I think the commission's pretty much made up their mind, Amy.
Well, positive number 1 says the area described in the reference plans is an area subject to protection under the Act. Removing, filling, dredging, or altering requires a filing of a notice of intent. So it's not confirming a line. It's just saying, yes, what you have on this map is subject to protection.
That's what it is. In my opinion, that's what we have in front of us tonight.
So if that's what we have, and if everybody agrees, then I would move that we issue a positive finding.
Positive number 1.
Amy, what is number 2 reading?
Number 2A states
Yep.
the boundary delineations of the following resource areas described in the reference plans are confirmed as accurate. Therefore, the resource area boundaries confirmed by this determination is binding to all decisions rendered pursuant to the Mass Wetlands Protection Act and its regs.
And
But we don't have that. We don't have that, right?
No.
Well, we have the map that they submit with every single RDA across the state.
And did you say is or isn't accurate? Under
Is.
2?
And 2B would be the resource areas listed below are not confirmed by this determination.
Not confirmed. Okay. Now, have you made a determination as to whether or not the areas are within the jurisdiction that it is a number 1?
Yeah, they definitely are. But in my experience, in Beverly anyway, that the actual resources aren't flagged in the field, even when, I made arrangements to be on the track with a representative. So it's not like they physically flag, it's this map that we go by, that they provide. So, but, we haven't had this issue come up until
The last time Jennifer walked it, I remember her telling me she was walking on the railroad tracks. So we have done that.
Mhm.
But it seems that everybody wants to go positive, but I don't know what number. It seems like it's number 1 or number
Positive.
2.
Well, positive 1 is my motion.
Okay. So we have a motion for positive 1. Anybody want a second?
I'll second it for discussion. And Amy, can you just read what number 1 is again, please? And is that your recommendation? Is my second question.
Yeah, hold on. Okay. So number 1, the area described in the reference plans is an area subject to protection under the Act. So removing, filling, dredging, or altering the area requires filing a notice of intent.
Okay. And is that your recommendation?
Well, it was going to be 2A, but honestly, now that we're discussing it, I feel like number 1 sounds more appropriate. You know, I can't say that I saw wetland flags in the field, so that, you know. So number 1, yes.
All set?
Okay.
Sean, all
Sure.
set?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. Next one is an RDA 190 Mill Road.
All right. This is an after-the-fact request for determination for work that I observed involving expansion of the existing driveway with crushed stone. I issued a violation letter directing the homeowner to cease work and install erosion controls at the wetland delineated. They've complied, and now we have the RDA before us. Work involves conversion of lawn. No other vegetation was impacted. To permeable crushed stone driveway along the existing paved driveway. Crushed stone driveway strip is outside of the 25-foot no disturb zone, but it is inside the 50-foot no build zone. Alternatives analysis has been provided, and it does note, and I've observed in the field, that if the crushed stone strip was moved to the other side of the driveway, it would require relocating an established stone wall, and it would impact a root system of a large tree at the mouth of the driveway. Let's see. I did the wetland line, and with the wetland consultant, we took a number of soil samples in various locations, up gradient of almost all of the flags, with at least 3 soil augers between the stone wall and wetland flag 7A. And I found upland soils to be very obvious in all of those samples. So I am comfortable with the line as presented. And I can give you my recommendation if you're ready.
Sure.
So driveways are allowed under the regs where there are no other alternatives that result in fewer impacts. Impacts to the large tree would result if the gravel strip was moved on the other side. And because it's, you know, in lawn where it is, I believe that the waiver is appropriate. Okay, and let's see. So I recommend close the hearing and issue a -3 with the following conditions: that maintaining the existing erosion controls and a post-construction inspection to verify compliance, and then authorize removal of those erosion controls.
Okay. First thing we need is an approval of the waiver. Do I have one?
Let me ask a question of Amy.
Sure.
So Amy, I'm looking at the flag line,
Yeah.
and I notice at between 3A and 4A, it takes a bulge out to 6A and 7A, and then kind of meanders along. What accounts for that bulge?
Well, I think it was driven by soils.
Did you feel that the soil did you feel you were dealing with original native soils, or did you feel like maybe there might be some fill under there? Or?
No, I think they were original native. Yep.
Okay.
And they were bright, and you know, there really wasn't any question that it was their upland soils. And once you walked towards the wetland flagging, you really started to see the accompanying signs of hydrology,
Okay.
roots, stained leaves, you know, evidence of ponded water. So yeah.
All right, I just wanted to hear, because I noticed that 3A, the difference between 3A and say 6A is dramatic.
Yep.
And,
No, I know, and I saw that too. So we spent time, in that area,
okay,
all along that belly.
all right, very good. I'm satisfied. Thank you. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, I forgot to ask questions, for questions. Joe, do you have any questions?
Actually, I have a few.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the erosion controls. I guess it's the letter that Amy sent, taken from the street looking in. Actually have the erosion controls directing directly into a catch basin. So the basin itself is unprotected. Also saw on the site plan, there's a catch basin just behind the garage, just beyond where the gravel driveway is going to be. So though we may be maintaining a distance off of the resource area laterally, we may have direct connections from both of those basins into those wetland areas that gravel is likely to migrate into from both directions. So gravel driveway may, even though it's pervious, may not be the best option here because it's going to move fines all the time. Every time the driveway's plowed in the winter, every time it rains, that's going to be moving. It's going to need to be rejuvenated every now and then. So the basin front and back, I think, are problematic. What I don't know by the mission is, because it's silent, is whether there are direct connections of either of those two basins or both. So I don't think we have enough information for us to move forward on the final determination until we know what the situation with those basins are. And do you see both that I'm talking about?
Yeah, I see that now. And I wasn't paying attention to that while in the field.
Okay, well, my next question is, well, evidently it seems like it has to be continued. I'll get to Jack and Sean momentarily. So how many conditions are there going to be between Joe and Al? How many conditions are there going to be before we move on to make this still an RDA, or is it going to be an NOI?
I can speak for myself. I'm not proposing any additional conditions right now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and until I know the situation of the basins, neither am I. If there is no direct connection from either basin, then the concern with gravel migration is greatly diminished. But if there are hydraulic connections, then that becomes a problem. Amy, let me ask: was there any discussion of their desire to actually pave this, or do they always want it to be gravel, or did we talk them into gravel?
No. From what I understand, the gravel is going to provide a rougher surface for the homeowner, who's an elderly gentleman, and so he needs sort of the rougher surface to get in and out of his car during snow and such like that. So it wasn't. They never said paving. It was just the gravel.
So if that were the case, and we find out there are hydraulic connections for the basins, the only condition I would add is that it would provide us some sort of grading design that would show that they're able to contain the runoff in the gravel area and then prevent it from getting into the basin and back, or have some sort of protection measure before it got into that basin and back. In other words, keep the gravel down low so it doesn't flow overland, but also doesn't flood and turn to ice. But to do that, I think he has to really kind of find a way to protect that back and front basin. That would be the condition I would add. So I don't think that makes it an RD, makes it an NOI. But, and again, if the basins are not piped, if these are infiltrating basins, the one on the guy's lot is his own anyway. He has to manage it, and the one on the street is the town's. We probably just don't want the gravel getting into them.
Mhm.
All right, very good. Jack? Jack, you there? Martian?
You sound
We
like
lose-
outer space.
I know. Did we lose Jack momentarily?
I think it's max headroom.
Okay. We lost him last time. But, all right, well, let's go to Sean while we're waiting for Jack. Sean?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So, a couple different thoughts. Number one, I think we have to look at this as if if it wasn't an after the fact, that it were before the fact, and not given any preference because the work has already been done. Matter of fact, if anything, that should prejudice the applicant. Amy, the picture in the application that shows the white van on the side of the house, that's a before picture, I'm guessing?
Let me see. In the application?
Yes. With the trash can down.
Yes, that's a before picture. That's a Google Earth picture.
Okay. And so, I do appreciate that it is permittable. I don't necessarily think it's necessary. The alternative analysis is, there's an existing driveway there. It does predate the act, but that doesn't give the applicant the opportunity to increase the impacts to the wetland and get closer to it, which is exactly what's happening here. So I'm likely not in favor of the waiver. And if it does pass, I would look for a permanent barrier to protect that 25-foot line if I were to be in the minority as far as the waiver goes. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. Jack, are you back?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. I think it was a Bluetooth headset was the problem.
Did you hear Sean?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, I thought it was a good idea. I guess getting back to my question, was there a proposal to protect that catch basin with erosion control as part of the submission? I'm just not clear on the print.
In the yard, yes, they show control around that catch basin in the backyard.
Okay, so then I guess my next question is, you're concerned more of a permanent infiltration into that catch basin?
Jack, was that a question to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about in perpetuity, not just during construction. It looks to me by the photographs that I saw that water is looking to, oh, that's probably why the basin's there. The water is looking to get towards the back of the house and get into that basin. And, over time, all that gravel, the fines in that gravel are going to migrate down to that low area into the basin. So I think there needs to be some sort of protection to pull the gravels back, and then some sort of maintenance plan to clean those gravels away periodically, at least annually.
Got it. Okay.
That's what but not so much during construction.
It's already built though, isn't it?
No, it's just in the midst of
Oh,
partially.
I thought somebody said it was after the fact. That's why
Well,
I'm asking.
I mean, work started, but they didn't, finish grade, or it's sort of like excavated with a couple of piles of gravel in the middle.
Okay. Well, as far as Joe's concerned about the catch basin in the roadway, I'd be willing to bet, being in the past in the driveway business, I would be grading that piece toward the catch basin. That's what as a contractor. I'm not saying as a wetlands person, as a contractor. So, and Sean, I agree with Sean about the original alternatives analysis asking for the waiver, unless I missed it. So, and I'm a little bit questioned from the picture that I see. The car is parked on that's existing, Amy?
That was pre-work.
That was, okay.
And
I,
just on, I'm sorry, Lou. Just on that point, you know, as far as, again, I don't want to muddy things up any more than they are, but you know, just the fact that somebody parks vehicles on a lawn area close to a wetland doesn't mean that it's a good idea to, you know, condone it by allowing them to put crushed stone underneath. And
No.
if that is the case, then everybody's going to get a waiver because well, just do it, use it, and not everybody, but I mean, it's just it's a slippery.
well,
I guess.
well, I'm looking at the plan. I have a high plan. There's no reason why that should be gravel all the way to the street. I mean, you can come up the paved area and then just make a turn off to park his car. Do you agree, Joe?
Yeah.
And then that would protect that basin by the street, and any water that comes off that driveway will end up in the grassy area before the turnout. So there is an alternatives analysis, which they haven't presented. So I just want to make the commission aware of it. I mean, there are options. So I don't know how you want to proceed.
May I address some of the comments that the commission raised?
Sure.
Okay, so this is Maureen Harold, Norse Environmental. Catch basins. So the catch basin near the roadway that is shown in Amy's photograph, that catch basin is not visible 7 to 8 months out of the year, because what happens is it primarily collects the runoff from Mill Road, and then it fills in with dirt and sediment. And the town essentially, you know, I'm sure maintains it when you can, but isn't done on a consistent basis. And in fact, I was shown the catch basin this week. I didn't even realize it was there. That's because there was so much sediment and leaves on top of it. That catch basin is 11 feet from the gravel driveway. There's an area of lawn between it. The way that it's already begun to be constructed is that it's excavated out about 12 to, I don't know, I'd say 14 inches. And then the last step was to put the gravel within that excavated area and match the existing grade. That area along the driveway between the stone wall and the existing driveway is flat. And that's pretty evident by the topography that's there. The catch basin that's at the rear of the property, that's about 6 feet off of the gravel area that we're proposing. And there will be an area of lawn between those two, between the gravel edge and the catch basin itself. We're proposing to maintain that as lawn. In terms of plowing, I don't see them plowing the entire length of that gravel driveway. I think in the wintertime, the area beside the house will be used as storage. The gentleman that lives in this home, he is elderly. He needs support. He needs family support. And this is why we're requesting to expand the driveway, because as the commission knows, this Mill Road is, I'd say, kind of a cut-through road, a busy road. It's difficult to park on the side of the road. So that was the intent of the gravel driveway, was to minimize impact and also allow additional vehicles to be parked in this location.
Maureen, I want to ask you a question because the more I look at it, if you had to widen the driveway mid driveway of the existing driveway, that would give him plenty of room to pull in and back out, and thereby you wouldn't have to remove the wall, and which protects the wetlands, and that catch basin wouldn't even be in the formula.
Okay, I think that the owner's intent, I think that is an alternative. The owner's intent was to minimize it and allow for a long storage area to park vehicles.
Oh, so the driveway is not just for the elderly man with disability, it's for additional parking.
It's for the family members that come to the home that support the gentleman that lives there.
Yeah. Well,
And to provide the additional parking.
well, what was presented to me at the beginning and what we're hearing now seems like it's two different things. So I'm with Sean as far as not granting a waiver. I think by even at halfway, you still have two other spots plus the driveway, plus the existing driveway. If they're having company, they're going to park in front of the garage door. So, there's plenty of parking. I don't know. I'll defer to my fellow commissioners.
Yeah, I think
Joe?
we're at a point where we've really vocalized what our concerns are from many different perspectives. I think Maureen probably ought to go back and talk to her client and express the concern, say, they're again, I don't even want to give them too much confidence, but I think if there were things done differently, like minimizing the length of the gravel, maybe even paving that minimized length, making it far more functional and protected, in restoring what's been disturbed back to grass, we may be more inclined to be letting it happen. I'm very sympathetic to an elderly person needing support, having going through it myself right now. And I don't want to just simply spend a lot of money arguing an issue when for the same money can be better invested into a better product that can be approved. And that's what I think Maureen needs to bring back to the client.
So just so that I'm clear on what
And that's only my opinion. So, maybe Louis will let others go around and
Okay.
offer their ideas, but that's where I'm leaning.
Sure. Al, do you have any more input?
No, I agree with Joe.
Okay. Jack, do you?
Well, I'm looking at the plan and I'm seeing this gravel area being outside of coming up to the 25-foot no disturb, but not encroaching on that. So I'm kind of in favor of granting the waiver. We have to judge these things on wetland basis, not how much parking is practical. And so I don't know. That's how it looks. That's what it looks like to me. I am sympathetic to Joe's concerns about the permanent fines runoff from the gravel. So I think those are some legitimate questions, for preserving water quality in that area. But I'm, generally in favor of the waiver. I think Sean's idea of the permanent barrier, or at the very least, markings is a good idea too. So that's all I have, Lou.
Thank you. Sean?
So I am not in favor of the waiver. I think if this had come in front of us as a proposal without any work being done, we would have done an alternatives analysis. It would have clearly shown there are alternatives available. So we wouldn't have allowed it. And the fact that work's already begun, again, should not serve as an advantage to the applicant. The fact that there's somebody elderly there, I sympathize with that as well. I'm looking at the photograph of the pre-existing condition before work was started there. And it's a good sized driveway. If they needed a bump out to do turnarounds, maybe that's something that I would be willing to consider, but that's not the situation we have in front of us. We have an applicant that started work, has already begun the project partway through, and now they're looking for a waiver to go forward. So I don't see any. I think there were alternatives. I think if there's a need there, the need can be serviced without having to go the route of expanding the entire driveway. So I would, and I think it's a dangerous precedent, so I'd be against it.
Thank you, Sean. I'm looking at the last, page 2 of 2. The back page has a picture of a excavator in the driveway area, and then I see I don't know if that's those are hay bales or what they are, but
Yeah.
it looks like they got it flared out. So now it's not only they're going the width of the driveway, they're flaring the ends. So that really red flags me. So I would be not in favor of the waiver. I think they're all alternatives, and I think we still have time. And we've given Maureen, we've given you a couple of options. So I think we should continue and go back, and you can go back to your client and express our all alternatives. And you already got 2 votes against the waiver, so I don't think it would take much for that to happen even more.
I guess it's not my night, but in leaving this tonight, I just want to leave the commission with letting you know that the work that has been done has not affected the resource area. There's one thing to point out. There's an existing stone wall, 2 foot high, nice field stone wall that runs along the property line. So the work is proposed between that and the wetlands on the far end side. But I heard everybody's concerns. I'd like to request a continuance and go back and see what options we have.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion to continue.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Good night.
All right, now we're going to notices of intent. 242-1787, request to continue to 10/28.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. It's not on here, but I know we said we're going to continue it. 242-1794, 335 Willow Street. It's requested to continue to the next meeting, which is when? Jamie? Amy?
So, well, the next meeting is the 14th, and the planning board has not closed on their hearing yet.
Right.
And so they wanted to wait for the third-party peer review to come in. It did come in a couple of days after their meeting, but nevertheless, they're still open.
All right. So why don't we have them come in the 14th, and we'll have the decision ready for them on the 28th.
Mhm.
What do you think?
I can definitely have a draft ready for the 14th.
Yeah, but that's before planning, right?
It's after, because their next meeting is October 6th.
Oh, okay, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to continue to October 14th.
Excuse me, Amy.
Which one are we continuing, Lou? Which one are you on?
It's not on here. It's 242-1794.
Okay, Willow
335
Street.
Willow Street. But I think I hear John Moran in the background.
335 Willow we're talking about. You're taking it
Yeah.
out of order.
Okay. So you're looking for a motion to continue?
Yeah, motion continued to 10/14.
Okay, so move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one to continue is 242-1795, 597 Forster Street.
Oh, so
Request to continue to 10/14.
So moved.
okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. So now we'll go back to 242, 1792, 137, 113, 115 Andover Street. Stephen Coolidge.
Alrighty. So we're at the point where all of the members have now visited the site, and we have a laundry list of additional information requests that we've gone through, and I won't go through the, everyone has it, but I won't go through the list, but the applicant and their consultant just wanted to make sure that we are all on the same page about what's expected for the next meeting, as they are hoping that perhaps you guys could close at the next meeting.
All right, before we do, and if you don't have any questions, are there any abutters out there?
Let me see. Let me check.
Okay.
Hi, Amy. If I could talk, it's Mike DeRosa for 2 seconds.
Sure.
Amy was kind enough to give us the list of concerns that the commission has brought up. We've had 2 site walks with different members of the commission. We've gotten a lot of feedback, a lot of good feedback, and we just wanted to give an update to the commission tonight that on where we are. We've done the test pits for the discharge line from the pond. We've done the wildlife habitat evaluation, the field work, and we'll have the report done for the next submittal. And we have this whole list that we'll go through in a narrative to the commission. And we're hoping to submit, or we will submit on or before October 5th for the October 14th meeting. And Amy, would you prefer that all in one package, or would you, because we might be able to get the narrative stuff to you earlier than the plan, just given the timing and everybody's workload.
Sure. I mean, send along whatever you have as soon as you have it. It's better earlier than later.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, and that would be great.
But you are going to have the plan for the 14th meeting, correct?
We will have the plan for October 5th for the 14th meeting, so the commission will have plenty of time to look at it before the meeting. Absolutely.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah. And I don't know, Elizabeth, did you want to say anything? I see you're on the call.
Not particularly, Mike. Just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page moving forward, and it sounds like we are. So thanks to everybody.
All right.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna ask the commission just in case. Joe?
No, it seems like things are moving in a good direction, and I'm anxious to see where it all plays out.
Okay, Al?
I'm all set as well. I'm satisfied with the list that I'm looking at online, that list
Okay.
of requests.
Thank you. Jack?
Yeah, as well, I'm hopeful that the applicant considers all of our input and builds that into their final design submission. So I'm anxious to see that.
Thank you. Sean?
I'm comfortable with the direction in which things are going.
Very good. And I am also. So we'll see you on October 14th, and you'll have some literature for us October 5th. Is that correct?
Yep, on or before the October 5th deadline, we'll have everything to you. And we thank the commission for all their input. I think this is going to result in a better product at the end. So thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Was there any abutters, Amy?
No, there are no emails coming in for this.
Okay, so we need a motion to continue, correct?
Yep.
For the 14th.
So moved.
Jack.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Next one is 242. It's an amendment. 242-1766.
We still have Brook School next, Lou, don't we, Louis?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
Brook
did,
School.
I did. 242-1783, I'm seeing all this yellow in front of me.
Okay, so the planning board closed its hearing on the 15th and issued its decisions under the site plan review and watershed special permit. So that's under their belt. I've drafted an order of conditions for your consideration this evening. There's just one item that I think we should just briefly discuss, that, you know, my knee-jerk reaction in the beginning was that the wetlands in the field would stop, the mowing of the wetlands in the field would stop. And the consultant expressed the school's concern over that they would like to try to keep wetland series A and D in a wet meadow state and be allowed for annual mowing to do that. And then in terms of monumentation of the 25-foot no disturb zone, the school would prefer weather resistant monuments as opposed to a field stone wall. So just those, want to make sure those were out on the table.
Okay, Joe?
Amy, you're concerned with the area mowing, is that right off of Great Pond Road to the left as you're coming in? Is that
No.
area?
That's G, that's series G, and they're okay with allowing that to grow up.
Okay,
It's where you go in to the new entrance, and you bear right to the new driveway, the new access drive. It's that the meadow wetland in A and in D.
so it's where the flared end section picks up some drainage and charges it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And why is it they want to mow?
Well, I think they'd like to keep it as a wet meadow and maintain sort of the viewscape that they have right now. I mean, I don't know what their mowing regime is right now, but you know, and once annually at the end of the season, I think they'd be looking for.
And that drain in the flared end section is a new device, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, boy, I don't think they have much of an option. I think we ought to not let them mow there. It's I mean it's literally right up to the edge of the 20. Well, not, you know, again, scale wise, I'm looking at a very small scale on a large area, but it's up very close to the 25 no disturb. I would say it from 25 feet, no disturb, period. Now, maybe the rest of the meadow was fine. Are they proposing to mow everything right up to the edge of the wetland because they have historically?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing, or am I mistaken?
That's what I understand. And Anthony, I think he's on the call, and you can clarify if you'd like, but because right now the wetland is being mowed too.
Without further comment or debate, my position is to maintain the 25 no disturb, and you know, we as a adjunct to the fact that they have work proposed in that exact area, I would say it would be across the full limits of the flag. Again, I can't see in scale, I can't see the flag numbers, but from what looks to be a wall line or a property line all along that wetland, all that full 25 no disturb, with posts and monuments, meaning, you know, placards.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm leaning, and that's all I have.
Al?
Well, I'm a big proponent of open field mowing. We've granted permission to do so on numerous properties across town, and typically when it's a very sensitive area, in order just to prevent woody vegetation from taking over, So we give them a once per year mowing permit in the order of conditions. There's a lot of properties that are pretty sensitive along Mosquito Brook and stuff that we've worked with in the past. And we say, okay, you can't mow it regularly. You can mow it once a year at the end of the season. And what that does is it keeps the woody vegetation down, excuse me, and it keeps allows the critters to use the resource area that need it, the nesting critters and so forth. So I wouldn't necessarily object to it, only because I think it's something that we do already manage, and it's obviously managed on a case by case basis. So I'm not saying I'm definitely in favor. I'm just saying it's something I would consider if presented correctly or not.
Thank you. Jack?
Yeah, I guess my question is it currently a wet meadow right now being mowed periodically? Is the area in question currently a wet meadow, and they're asking to just preserve it as that? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Al that we do have a lot of we do have areas that we allow that in to preserve wet meadows when appropriate on a case by case basis. I guess, Joe, why should we go against that, preserving it as a wet meadow and make it into a woody stand instead?
I don't think that's what I heard them proposing. I think what I heard them proposing to do was to continue to mow it, and I whether it was in so many words or just implied, but on a regular basis as part of their quote unquote weekly mowing regime. That I'm opposed to. But I agree with Al that, done right and done properly, we can still maintain the wet meadow characteristic of it on a once per year basis after nesting season. Mm-hmm. And I think that would be appropriate, but that's not what I was hearing what was being proposed, unless I'm wrong, Amy. Am I?
I'm sorry. I may have not been clear that, they don't want to not be able to mow it at all, but they're okay with once a year.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't. If you said that, I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
No.
So that sounds like it aligns with Al, and I do as well.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
Jack, you all set?
Yeah, it just sounds like a condition limiting mowing to once a year might be appropriate, after, after the nesting season for birds.
Thank you. Sean? Sean, are you there?
I am here.
Okay.
So,
do you have any comment?
My only comment would be, whether to have a stone wall or not there. They are getting closer to the wetland with the new driveway than they were before. So I think that stone wall barrier is preferable than just markers up along there. You can allow breaks in the wall so that they can get equipment in there to do the mowing if that's the way the commission's going. So those were my only thoughts.
Thank you. I'm in agreement with Sean. I kind of prefer stone walls when they're applicable. I think this area, and I agree with him. If you want to leave openings for a mower to get through it, that's fine. Any more comment, Joe?
I'm all set.
Al?
No, I just I've said it all, I think.
Jack?
Yeah, and just to be clear, are we going to condition a stone wall at the 25-foot no disturb?
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Anthony Kolis from Bingham. Will we have a chance to discuss some of these conditions with the commission before you vote?
Sure. You can discuss any questions you have right now.
Okay. Thank you. Again, my name is Anthony Kolis. I'm with Whitman and Bingham Associates. So we would prefer not to have a stone wall. Again, part of what our intent here is to preserve the existing natural character of this open field and to not have a stone wall barrier basically following a finger along the field area. The new driveway is about 55 feet away from the edge of the wet meadow. So we're not really up on top of it. The one part that does get close, as was mentioned, is the end of the riprap pad area, which ends up being the closest corner, ends up being about 35 feet away from the edge of the wet meadow. So we would much rather prefer to have signage posted in and along there to preserve the natural character of that existing field, but to still be able to provide some sort of monumentation so that people can see that this is an area that is a resource protected area. This is also just a driveway to access the campus. It's not an area where it's a main congregation of students or anything like that. So it's not an area that's promoting activity. It's basically a driveway to go through. The only activity that would occur would be that mowing. And I feel as though that having the monumentation would adequately provide for that notification to mowers not to go in here. And then once you do it once, you know where it is. And so I think it would be obviously marked once the mowing stops, and only that area is mowed once a year. I think it'll be obvious.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, and to reiterate the discussion on the mowing, yes, that's absolutely what we're trying to do, is just prevent woody vegetation from taking place in that wet meadow. So all we're looking for is once a year, and at the end of the year is fine, whatever the commission prefers for that. But that's exactly what we're looking for.
Thank you. Joe, do you have any questions about the wall?
I think I'm going to side with Sean on, if this were any other applicant, and we do have an activity here, there is an opportunity, and I think a wall done well would not detract from the wet meadow. I mean, there are lots of country walls along meadows in North Andover, and I dare say throughout the East Coast that can be done well. It's what we would require most applicants to do, and I don't see how this differs. And it doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't compromise a scenic vista. So I'm leaning towards it. I think the mowing's an appropriate thing, and as I do the wall and some sort of a demarcation with placards that this is in fact an important resource. And this is an institution of learning, and hopefully some of the students coming out of here, and even the faculty and facilities folks need to appreciate that part of learning is an appreciation of our wetland resource areas, and particularly in our watershed. And these are the things we look to protect. And I'm leaning for a wall. I'm leaning for it.
Thank you. Al?
Yeah, I also have no problem with the wall requirement. That entire property is bounded by stone walls, and it doesn't detract one bit from that property. It's one of the most beautiful properties in the town. So a correctly constructed stone wall would enhance, not detract. And the once-a-year mowing would also accomplish the mission. So I'm good on both.
Thank you. My whole point of joining this commission was to protect the lake. One of my main points was to protect the lake. So anytime we have the opportunity to do anything to protect that lake, I'm for it. I agree with you with the mowing once a year, but I think the wall should be built. Thank you. Jack?
Yeah, I have no additional comments. I think you guys have said it all.
Okay, Sean? You're all
I don't
set,
have
right?
anything else.
Okay. All right. So your two questions that you had was the mowing, which is once a year, and it's acceptable to you. So we'll keep that. And as you heard, the commission would prefer that the wall be built.
Yep, and we're talking about, is there an order of conditions been drafted for this?
Yes.
So we just have to amend the order of conditions. So I think we're all set. We can move on.
Yeah, I just want to let the applicant know where we're heading, because he had questions. So.
This is Andrew Leonard, landscape architect on the project. I just would like clarification on is this all 25-foot buffer zones within the work area, or is this the specific one that's along the road that would be mowed? Because there's a lot of linear footage. It's not just a very small edge or a small finger. There's a significant linear footage of wall on, or of 25-foot buffer that's on the map, so to speak.
Sure.
So we could have some clarification on where the commission is looking for the wall, so we can provide obviously the buffer that everyone's looking for. And I speak for the school in saying they're interested in all these habitats as well, which is one of the reasons for the request for the mowing, is to maintain a wet meadow habitat for learning. But we just would like some clarification on the extent of wall versus marker.
Sure.
Yeah, Lou, this is Joe. So my perspective on it is in the proximity of where the work is ongoing. So it's in the vicinity of that flared end section. I'm looking at sheet EC 1.00. The flared end section is about mid-page. There's an undulating wetland line. There's an undulating 25-foot line near that flared end. I'm talking about from what looks to be ironically enough, a stone wall up to the tip of that 25, just in that area along that 25. Nowhere else that there is a 25 shown on this plan that am I talking about. That's my perspective. I don't know about my fellow commissioners.
Sean, I know Sean's the wall guy. Are you agreeing with
just
Joe?
to follow up on, just to follow up on that same sheet as Joe, just so I can understand what's going on this plan. It's tough to see the wetland flags, but I think it's around wetland flag 6A, 7A. We see that something is sticking out in that direction. What is that?
If I can interject, it's Anthony Cleves from Whitman and Bingham. So if you're looking, there's a double line that is in between flagged 8A and 38A. Is that what you're referring to?
No. So as you come from the entrance onto the property, and you get down towards wetland flags where it's 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A. What is it? Maybe that's just water flow. What is this diagram for anyways? Is it surface water erosion control plan?
Yeah. So along. So basically, to get back to, I think, the area we're talking about, and if I understood the previous commissioner, what I was hearing is a wall basically paralleling the wetland line and associated, as I said, associated 25-foot no disturbance zone of the line that's closest to the new driveway and riprap pad, which would run approximately from the point, which is denoted as wetland flag 1A, and continuing along that side of the wetland, which would parallel the flags that go from 1A through to 9A, and 9A is immediately adjacent to the existing stone wall. So if I understood that previous comment, I think that's what you were looking for, is a wall paralleling that line from 1A to 9A. There's nothing else along that line. The closest part of the project is that riprap pad, which is outside of that 25-foot non-disturbance and just within the 50-foot NBZ.
Yeah. What about in that G series? Is there
the G series? We have no issue with not mowing that. The G series is that series that's immediately adjacent to Great Pond Road. If you're coming in from the new driveway / existing driveway of 1116, that's going to be on your left. That G series was no concerns with just letting that grow as is and not mowing that.
Yeah. But just so I understand, I have no more questions concerning the project, but just other than what's depicted on the plan, what is that object that with the dash line going along there, it goes along consistently, and then it jets out at a 90-degree angle towards the wetland. What is depicted in that area?
Is it the lines
What are you showing there?
the lines that encompass the riprap pad? It kind of parallels the drain line, I think is what you're referring to. So
Yep.
there are two lines that kind of follow each other. The thicker, darker line is the proposed erosion control barriers.
Yep.
And then the thinner line that's a little bit outside of that, that's the limit of work line that we typically put on plans for contractors when a project would go out to bid, to show them that, we don't want you going outside this line to keep their work tight. So thin line, limit of work, dark line is erosion control.
And so part of the project is you've got pretty much a straight meandering line until you get to a certain point, and then it boxes out towards the wetland. What is that? You're draining
Exactly.
water underground towards the wetland there?
Exactly.
Breaking out?
There's a discharge pipe from the collection system that discharges to the riprap pad. So it would be a below grade pipe that then will daylight to grade at the very end. And so, there's that long rectangle that basically we're trying to stay tight to that work. Yep, that's exactly it.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Sean. So, does anybody have any questions about the wall? None. Joe, so would you explain to where you want the wall again, or what he said is a good explanation?
Well, Sean's that much younger than me because my eyes cannot read those numbers or flag numbers. I guess it's wetland flag, the point, according to the applicant's rep, that's 1A, is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It extends all the way across to something. If I see 8A well enough, I suppose. I guess it's 9A at the wall.
Correct.
So I would say along the 25-foot buffer between those two flags. So the 25-foot offset between those two flags, and only that area is what I'm talking about. And it's because of that drain pipe that disturbance is, ought to be protected by the wall. And nowhere else that they show 25 foot am I talking about. Only that stretch, 1A to 9A.
And is there any issue with having that drain pipe daylight close to the proposed wall?
Well,
no, I have no problem. I have the 25. I have no problem with that. It's where it ought to be. They're protecting it with the riprap for erosion control. I think that's exactly why I want the wall there. I do have an overriding concern of the timing of when it gets mowed, because, quite frankly, we're going to be concentrating an outfall of water. So that area that's currently a meadow is going to be saturated for a more extended period of time than it currently is. So, but that's just a matter of them knowing that it's dry enough to mow, and this is the one time you're going to do it, during the year. I'm sure you can find a window when it's dry enough. The location for the discharge is fine for me.
All right, so to questions to the applicant, you will be all set with, where they want the wall, and we are in agreement with the lawn cutting.
Yeah, understood, and thank you for the clarification.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we need where am I? I lost my agenda.
Move to close an issue, right?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, commissioners. The next one is an amendment. Now it's the amendment. 242, 1766, 1600 Osgood Street.
Alrighty. So I provided you with the final third-party stormwater review letter, and their comments have all been adequately addressed. The planning board has not closed on this yet. They anticipate to do so at their October 6th meeting. We're still waiting on some traffic, and they didn't have this final peer review letter for stormwater in hand at their September 15th meeting. there have been minor changes to the plan set based on Horsley Witten's peer review letter, and the project engineer is here tonight and prepared to give you a very brief overview of that if you'd like. We have also received a letter from the abutter at 351 Holt. Their engineer has been in contact with the project team, and it seems that they're comfortable with the project, but their letter stressed that the need for maintenance of stormwater BNPs throughout the system, which, you know, have various responsible parties, whether it's the town or the project locus.
Okay, so what we're saying, what you're saying is planning, it's still open at planning.
Yes.
And the abutter still has concerns. It hasn't been.
No, I think the abutter is fine. They just, you know, they just stress in their letter that maintenance of all the stormwater BMPs in the treatment chain from, you know, whether it's under town jurisdiction or the project's jurisdiction, just, you know, just to remind everybody that we need maintenance.
Okay, well, we're going to set that up for a maintenance plan anyways, correct?
Right.
All right, so we can forward a copy of the maintenance plan to the abutter when we get it, or when we put it all together.
Yeah, I would imagine Tim O'Neill is with us this evening, and I would imagine, Tim, that he's in possession of that.
Okay. All right, that's very good. All right, so yes, who's this? Al?
This is Al. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to go out of order. I have the abutters Atlantic management letter in front of me, and they're okay, but they're looking for a joint maintenance agreement. They're not saying we're all set and we hope it all works out. They're looking for the adoption of a joint maintenance agreement. So that's pretty clear to me what they're looking for, and I don't see any evidence of that.
Okay. All right. So we are missing that.
Is that something that we can require? I mean, wouldn't that be a private agreement?
No, I think it's absolutely something we can require as part of their stormwater management.
Okay.
I think they should be submitting something to this engineering company and CC and a copy of it to you, so that we know it's in place. And I would be, we have planning is still waiting. We're still waiting on planning, and and to me that's very important. So I feel that we should continue to the next meeting, even though it's almost all there, but it's not all there, and it's a pretty big project, and we've already missed the boat once, and I don't want to do it again. So my recommendation is to continue. Joe?
Yeah, maybe ultimately, Lou, but there's some new submissions tonight that I think we requested the last time around, particularly the groundwater profile and the cross sections that I requested.
Yeah.
I'm looking at sheet CG 302. That's something that was specifically asked to be presented as part of this meeting. It speaks to the groundwater under the building in the vicinity where we're debating recycled concrete materials and whatnot. So I think that's new information. And on Amy's, the question asked and Amy's question back to us, it's a real slippery slope, you know, to obligate an applicant to reach an agreement with an abutter who has appeal rights. I don't think that's what we do. I think we require an operations and management plan, a maintenance plan that meets the requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act. That's what we do to satisfy and protect our wetlands. But anything with regard to a tangential abutter agreement is to me dangerous. It almost invites the opportunity of appeal, or worse yet, is stalemate. If the abutter simply wants to stall the project and somehow want to find reward in doing that. That's not what we do. And I agree with Amy. I don't think we go there on this. However, I think a robust operations and management plan that maybe addresses the abutter concern as well as ours is something we contemplate. But just because they're not satisfied and we are, shouldn't stop us from moving forward.
I don't think that was what my intention or Al's words. I just thought that we should send them a copy of what we agree to them. We'll have the applicant send it to them, and if they're not happy with it, then they can appeal. I don't want to get in the middle of it, and I agree. But I
was hearing the possibility that it might go in a different direction, and I don't want to go in that direction. The other thing is I'm not so certain the O&M plan that they've already submitted is being modified in any great way, other than me being more specific to those new infiltration areas and detention areas. In essence, it's probably the same O&M plan. So why the abutter hasn't already seen that, only the applicant can answer. But enough of that. I think before we simply continue, I think it's fair to, in my opinion, to discuss this groundwater elevation as it compares to the building and fill.
I agree. Al?
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make a thing out of it, but this letter that I have in my hand that I'm reading is really pretty clear to me. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but it's a pretty clear. And you guys all have it. I know you do. We don't have to deal with it tonight, but I'm inclined to agree with the writer. So I'll just leave it at that. We're not going to close tonight anyway, right? We're going to continue?
No. Yes.
Okay. Very good. So I'm all set.
Okay. This is for the applicant. I don't know if you can hear me. Are they there?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yes. My question is do they have a copy of the proposed stormwater and maintenance plan? This company?
Yes, and for the record, this is Tim O'Neill with Langen Engineering on behalf of Hillwood. Yeah, we provided them with copies of all the materials on record with the town and some additional ones to go through some of the analysis they were requesting.
Okay, and they're not comfortable with what you proposed?
They're specifically concerned with structures that are outside of our project scope and off of our project. And our project operations and maintenance manual is for the proposed construction area and not the structures that we are not affecting off of our property. So we are currently speaking with them right now, and we're open to discussing the idea of the private matter with a maintenance agreement with the abutters, but that's their concern, is that our operation and maintenance manual is for our project site and not structures that are on their property.
Okay. We have a third-party review on this, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
if we could get a copy of their concerns, the outside people,
yeah,
and incorporate it with the proposed plan, and just highlight the differences. I'm not saying change them. I'm not saying we're going to take the abutters decision, but at least if we know what they are, then we can make a decision. I think. But I wouldn't go as far as, condoning whatever Atlantic management is, I believe, and say that the stormwater plan of 1600 Osgood Street is sufficient. But I would like our third party review to compare to both of them and let us know what he feels are the big differences are, so that we would, at the next meeting when we continue, we would have that information. Would that work for you, Joe?
I'd have to, I'm going to write as long as I can in a particular direction to try to resolve it. But I'm going to stand down on what it is we ultimately obligate this applicant to do as part of this application. if it relates to something offsite that they have no control over. Their standard is to meet zero net runoff and to minimize water quality impacts as it leaves their site. But if there's an ongoing or an existing problem offsite that's nothing to do with this site, or it's got something to do with the abutter, I think it's dangerous for us to consider it. But in the meantime, let's let it run its course. Let's see what it really looks like, and more specifically, those are my generalized concerns, and I think I've stated them enough.
Well, I the only thing I'm saying is to have our third party review just review the high points of the two, what the differences are, and present them to us, and then we not that we're going to decide, we can ask the applicant what the problem is, or we can go from there. But like I said, I'm not going to make the applicant jump through hoops to get this approved. I agree with you. They meet their burden, and that's it.
Yeah, and I have no problem. It's public record. I have no problem sharing the context in the process of the third-party review that has happened, and if clarification helps them better understand that their concerns are addressed, they can conclude that on their own. But if we're satisfied with the third-party review, I think that speaks for itself. That's what we should only concern ourselves with.
And I agree. Al?
I have the third-party review. It's the Horsley Witten Group report dated September 21st. I don't see, and I may have missed it, but I don't see where in the report it says that they meet the zero post runoff. But I can, since we're not going to close tonight, I can spend more time studying this report, and I can speak to it when we discuss this next.
Okay, thank you.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think, our goal in this is to ensure that, stormwater runoff, meets our standards, which is basically, no net change. And, the O&M plan definitely, the stormwater design, the O&M plan, basically address that. We also receive input from abutters on likely and, potential impacts to offsite, concerns for flooding and all that too. So I don't think it's unreasonable or unprecedented to ask for additional input from the third-party reviewer to say, look, we've got some areas, stormwater management structures off-site that are located approximately here. What do those impacts look like? I think we have them engaged to address abutter concerns, and although it may not be exact because they don't have off-site measurements and all, I think they could probably give us a pretty good directional opinion as to what those impacts might be, whether they be any change at all or negative. And I think that's what our due diligence is. And I think that's consistent with what we've done in the past. So I would agree with, if we wanted to have Horsley Witten take another look at it, in the context of certain specific areas, directions, topography, I think that might be appropriate. So.
Thank you, Jack. Sean?
I really don't have much more to add. I think everybody's, flagged most of the issues that I see here as well. So this discharge it's on town property, it sounds like. I mean, where it comes out at the Merrimack River, where the pipes come out and they're saying which needs to be maintained, the end of the culverts.
And this is Tim Langan again, just to address this. So the structure that they're concerned about is the outfall that goes underneath the railroad to the Merrimack River, located off our property and downstream. And that outfall also collects runoff from a very large area upstream. So just to give you an idea of the scale, our property is contributing roughly, I'd say 80 acres to this discharge location. And the additional area analyzed as part of the communications with the abutter was roughly 290 acres. And this includes parts of the airport runway, the Wheelabrator property, the town roadway drainage system. There are a ton of drainage areas that discharge to this one location. It's not limited to just the abutter and our property.
And whose property is the, where the culverts end up, where they say that they want to join with you to not only keep the stream up there, but at the end of the culvert to keep it clean?
That would be in the, pretty much the western direction. There's, if you're looking, actually, if you go to the material that we have for the hearing on that first sheet, the CS 100, directly west, the property line comes to a point and the MBTA railroad jogs to the southwest. Right at that inflection point, there's a structure that's about 100 feet off the property line where water enters a 36-inch and a 60-inch pipe, discharges underneath the MBA railroad over to the Merrimack River.
And when it discharges into the river, that's whose property is that?
The MBTA?
Yes.
MBTA, yeah. Yeah, it would be tough to compel parties to join an agreement to modify something that's not on the property of 1600 Osmond Street. So
Right.
I think that's tricky to do.
And you forget about the railroad.
Right.
All right. Well, like I said, we have to continue. I'd be interested in the feedback from Horst and with that. I'm not saying that we agree on any of it, but it'd be nice to know what it is, so we can make our own personal judgment of it. Because this is a rather big project, and we just want to make sure we know where we're at. We've already missed the boat on one occasion, and I really don't want to miss the boat on any more. So
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
I need clarification on exactly what are we asking Horsley Witten to do?
Well, I think what they address, just to look at the concerns of what I got a piece of paper. The other company, the engineering company, Atlantic Management.
The butter.
Yeah, the butter. And just see what they are, and if they are directly affected by 1600 Osgood Street, we would like to know what they are, and then the commission can decide accordingly. Does that work for you, Joe?
I don't know what works for me in this particular instance. I see how dangerous it can be.
I know.
The standard is site-specific, is to manage your stormwater from your site so as to not increase either the volume or the velocity or diminish the water quality as it leaves the site. In every single aspect, including a gravel driveway on Mill Road, you are connecting into a drain that's obligated for someone else to take care of. And the expectation is those other people take care of their things. Not just one item like a culvert or a chain of catch basins or a whole drainage system. The truth is, those things be maintained unto themselves, and as long as the applicant is minimizing the impacts, in fact, reducing impacts in some instances, in most instances, that's what's happening here, the answer is whatever the abutter Keolis does, MBTA does with that culvert, is only improved by what these folks are doing until such time as Keolis fails to do enough. And why should it be this applicant's, I'm getting philosophical, but why is it this applicant's responsibility? It really isn't. It's out of this applicant's control. We would no sooner obligate the town of North Andover to clean the town catch basins in order to maintain drainage in the neighborhood. But nonetheless, that's what we expect on every single application. I see it's real dangerous. So I think that we want, specific to the reach being contributory area going towards the culvert, all that water within that reach, is it in fact a zero net runoff or lower? And verify that. And I think that's our obligation here. And if in doing so they can give comfort to the abutter, so be it. But I can't. I'm real reluctant to have the town's agent, third-party reviewer, somehow be construed that we're warranting some sort of performance of a third party, the railroad, because it just isn't going to happen.
No, I'm reading the second last paragraph of Atlantic Management, and now I've changed my mind about it, because it says no flows from 1600 Osgood Street, as well as a flow from municipal storm drains, and it says there's two 60-inch culverts and one 36 diameter culvert, and they're experiencing flooding when these culverts back up due to debris and sediment. That pretty much that would be the railroad's issue, not 1600 Osgood Street, because they're not maintaining the culvert.
Yes, I don't want to beat the horse to death, but I feel like I have. We're sensitive, we're sympathetic to that, and we're in many instances we're all vulnerable to maintenance by others. But so long as this applicant maintains their system and it's designed and built to provide a reduction of impact, they've exceeded their expectation and their obligation. And I think we do that in the context of understanding the abutter concern, but more so because it's our charge to make sure those things happen. And that's what I see.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, after reading that paragraph, they're experiencing issues now, regardless of what 1600 Osgood Street does. So I'd be interested to see the peer review.
Now, let me ask this. The peer review ought to verify that the flow of water discharged from the site is affected by the current state of that culvert as opposed to the cleaned state of that culvert. That's fair game, because if the analysis is showing that culvert is full size and functioning perfectly and not creating a backwater condition, then that may be a flawed analysis. So I think verification of the design inputs is important. What is the condition of that stream, if you will, once it leaves the site? Is it in fact properly analyzed? That's fair game for our third party review to verify.
Okay. Did you get that, Amy?
Yeah, this is Mac with Hillwood. May I say something?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. No, I just wanted to add that what their original concern in terms of wanting to make sure that we were not increasing runoff to their property and or diminishing the water quality. Langen and their third party engineer spent a lot of time together the last 2 weeks, and from a purely stormwater perspective, they are satisfied that we're not a detriment to their property. The only thing new here is the request for the shared maintenance, because some of our runoff goes to a common canal that, like Tim said, 280 acres drain through. And it's, I guess to Joe's point, similarly on our site, I think there are, several locations where we're, accepting off-site public stormwater that comes into our property and through our property. So, we've kind of got the same condition where we got to manage the infrastructure for other property owners. So I just wanted to say that I think we've done our duty to convince the neighbor that we're not impairing their stormwater situation. It's just the maintenance that's the new part of this.
Okay.
I think the last paragraph is they are requesting the proponent of the 1600 Osgood Street property to assist them in maintaining both the stream and the culverts. You know, they're making a request of the applicant, not us, to make the applicant do that. And then assuming their adoption, which of a private joint maintenance agreement, they support the project. But again, I don't think we have the legal arm to twist.
Yeah, this is Sean. I agree. I don't think we do, and I think it's great if the parties get together to try to improve a bad situation out there. But I don't think it's something that we can compel. We can certainly, support it and do whatever we can to get parties to move together and accommodate that. But I do agree. I don't think we can compel people to do something that's not on their property.
Well, I'm glad we heard in the legal end. So that makes me feel a lot better. So, okay. So, but regardless, of what we just said and killed a half an hour, we gotta continue anyways, correct?
Still like to hear about the groundwater profiles that we asked for, shown on CG 302.
Okay.
Because that's exactly why they're here before us, because we have a groundwater condition that was different than the original application, and this is information we specifically asked for.
Okay. Is the applicant can answer?
Yep, we can jump right into that if you'd like. So if you have your meeting materials in front of you now and you open it up, I'll just point out the two small site plan changes and we'll jump right down to the cross sections that Joe was talking about. So on the cover sheet, the only thing that's changed is item number 7, just to the right of the existing building to remain on lot A. And you'll see that the chiller pad has shifted to the south by a couple hundred feet. And if you jump to your third page, that's just the blow up of the new site plan layout there. You'll see a couple of the parking spots shifted. We've widened radii for truck movement, and because of that shift, the pond behind it changed its shape slightly. And then we can jump all the way down to page, let's see. Go to page 8 of 13, which would be CG 106. And again, that's just depicting the chiller pad movement, avoiding an underground drainage pipe to keep loading from the chiller units off of it, and the revised pond number 1. Again, all flows and things have been reviewed and satisfied by Horsley and Witten for the new flow rates. Everything else has remained the same, and then we can jump to page 12 and 13, which would be the RCA cross sections below the building on lot B. So CG 301, we're looking at an enlarged plan of the lot B building with the groundwater in that area imposed over the building. Each groundwater label has a contour label on it relative to the proposed grade, relative to seawater. And the building has 3 separate cross sections cut through it. A running north to south, B in the northern part of the building running west to east, and C in the southern part of the building running west to east again. And then jumping to the 13th page of the document, CG 302, we have the cross sections that represent those profiles. And in each of these cross sections, you'll see the existing and proposed grades, the building slab and footing profiles, the anticipated maximum depth of RCA placement beneath the building only, the groundwater elevation based on the most current testing, and an offset line from that groundwater representing the minimum separation distance required of 3 feet from seasonal high groundwater. So you'll see on cross-section A that our closest point to the groundwater is the most southern section of the building. And there we're still maintaining a roughly 5 foot offset from the seasonal high groundwater to the bottom of the anticipated RCA placement. And again, you'll see that the close area is represented on the C alignment as well. And then happy to answer any questions that you guys have regarding the project.
So in the first go around, this is Joe Lynch. The first go around was the foundation walls and the footings of those foundation walls functioning as a cutoff to prevent groundwater from working its way up under the foundation and into the area was the first concern. And we're seeing in these cross sections that these are still both, the groundwater is still below both footings, both foundations. And we're also seeing that the requirement to maintain 3 foot of separation to the was our requirement. Yes, you're providing no less than 5 feet in the worst conditions and improved from there. So even though you have discovered groundwater at a higher profile than in first thought in other parts of the site, specific to the building, you're still maintaining that the original design intent hasn't changed at all. Is that correct?
That's correct. And if I could address that higher groundwater that we encountered, there was only one area in the western region of Lot B where the building is going that we encountered higher groundwater, and that's in the low-lying elevation where the extended dry detention basin B-1 is. Everything where the proposed building is going has a lot of historical groundwater monitoring, and that has not changed. So it was really only in the low-lying field area that we found slightly higher groundwater than was expected, and it only affected the stormwater management plan, which was adjusted and reviewed.
So the recycled concrete material is only under building A and not B? Is that correct?
The recycled concrete will only be under building B. So the large warehouse, yes.
All right, so the profile we just looked at is specific to where we're concerned with the recycled material. The other area where the groundwater was higher, there is no recycled material underneath that building, correct?
That's correct, correct.
Okay, I'm all set, Lou.
Oh, we lose Lou? I'm texting him.
Hello?
Hi. Lou?
Hi. Yes,
Did we lose you? You get back on?
I'm back.
Okay, good.
Did you hear anything I said, Lou?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so I'm all set. If you want to go to others, I'm satisfied with the new information supporting groundwater separation underneath the recycled concrete material.
Okay, so we need a motion to accept the
No,
amendment?
nobody else has commented, just me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Al?
No questions.
Sean? Jack, excuse me.
Yeah, I have no additional questions.
Sean?
I don't either.
Okay, so let's try it again. We need a motion on the amendment.
No, motion.
No?
No, we
Continue.
wanna continue, right?
Yeah, we have to continue, Lou,
Oh,
too.
that's right, we got to wait for planning. I'm sorry, I forgot about that.
We also want that third-party review to verify the concerns we just debated for a half hour.
I know.
More
Okay.
like an hour, Joe, but I agree with you.
I know. All right, so motion to continue.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, next one is an enforcement order, 1470 Forest Street.
High Street?
Extension.
High Street.
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss High Street.
That's okay.
I flipped the page too fast.
Yeah.
Minor modification, 242-1760.
Alrighty. So this is a minor modification to the order for Avalon Bay. And I'll give you the highlights as to what catalyzed it. So after looking at the reduction in units, well, when they reduced the units, they didn't really look at the parking. So they looked at that more closely and found that they can remove 49 parking spaces. So that results in a reduction of about 0.079 acres of impervious surface on the site. They were able to eliminate about 150 lineal feet of retaining wall along the southwest property line that meets with Sutton Pond condos, and instead provide a vegetated slope in that area. They've changed the infiltration systems from the plastic chambers to concrete chambers, and both systems will have increased storage capacity because of that. The bottoms of the systems are remaining the same in terms of elevation as previously approved plans. A portion of the parking space removal and vegetated slope are in the outer reaches of the buffer zone. We had, between Gene Enright, staffing the planning board, and we had the changes reviewed by the third-party peer review, Horsley Witten, and they have reviewed it and provided their approval. The planning board reviewed these changes at their September 15th meeting and approved these modifications as an unsubstantial change to their decision. So, and we have applicant representatives here this evening if you have any other questions.
Thank you, Amy. Joe?
I agree with everything they've proposed from a conservation perspective. I just, I know that there were a lot of abutting concerns they tried to raise with us with regard to inadequate parking to begin with, but as long as the planning board's satisfied, so am I.
Thank you. Al?
I'm good, Lou. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack?
I have no problems with this request for minor modification.
Okay. Sean?
No questions.
Motion?
So I would just recommend approve these changes as a minor modification to the order.
So moved.
So, second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. You guys from Avalon were all set. You didn't want to talk, did you?
Thank you. Just thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've heard from me enough.
All right. Now we have an enforcement, 1474th Street extension.
All righty. Okay. I don't know if, okay, so just as an update, the commission received a wetland report, an updated wetland report from the applicant's wetland consultant. And there were two areas, as I mentioned prior, that are identified as obvious or identifiable wetland fill, and one of them coincides with the DEP wetland change map from 2001, I believe, and that estimates the area behind the house where it's about 2,800 plus or minus square feet of BVW impact. The wetland report asserts that this fill was the result of deadfall and some microbursts that went through the area, and the dead vegetation was left in place. I think there was probably a combination of that plus some dumping from construction debris and perhaps some more recent activity by a landscape contractor that is operating on the site. They are proposing to excavate this area out and restore it with a wetland seed mix. The second area to the north, and you'll see it's beyond the big oaks and pines notation on the sketch plan. I had suspicions about. The wetland scientists would like to do some test pits, and I'd like to be on site while they do that to determine whether the area of impact is in wetland or if it's in buffer zone. Let's see. So their report asserts that the activity on the site predated DEP's buffer zone policy, which was, I believe, 1986, as well as the bylaw. Versions of the bylaw morphed with the 1987 version adding the buffer zone as a protected area. So a lot of this activity predated those regulations. Let's see. So I think I would appreciate the opportunity to visit the site with the wetland consultant one more time, just to review these areas, witness test pits, and just make sure that, you know, the proposed mitigation or restoration is appropriate. And I would ask the commission to provide direction as to whether a formal survey plot plan would be required, because the enforcement order didn't specify that. I think it's appropriate, but I just want to make sure the commission, you know, would give that direction.
Thank you, Amy. Joe?
It seems like it's starting to gain momentum in the right direction at long last, so I'm happy to hear that. And yeah, Amy, if you're asking to permission or guidance from us, by all means, you ought to be satisfied with what they're proposing. I'm happy to hear that we're able to pretty well document the older history of some of the activity out here, and as opposed to recent activity. So yeah, I think, you know, one more meeting to help tie that together would be great. I'm all set.
Al? Thank you, Joe.
My answer would be yes to another visit, and yes to a surveyed plot plan, and anything else that Amy feels she needs to complete this.
Thank you, Al. I'm in harmony with Joe and Al. If there are any more violations on this site, I think we should come out with guns blazing, because it's evident that even though all this existing EO was going on, the landscape was dumping clippings and stuff. So I don't know what the answer is, but I think we should do something about it. Thank you. Jack?
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that.
Okay. Sean?
No, I agree with the sentiments of the board.
All righty. So what's our course of action from here?
So this is an enforcement order, right? So are we being asked to amend the enforcement order and incorporate these requests?
Yes.
If that's
That makes sense.
If that's the request, then I'll move that we amend the order and by adding your request to it.
Okay.
I second on discussion.
Yes. Oh.
Amy, what's your recommendation with regards to the most recent activity with the landscaper? Is that just the restoration and let them get away with it? Or, I mean, the fact that they knew the problems and allowed it, I think we should deal with it.
No, I think it's in the same location as the wetland change area. It's just a convenient spot. And I can't speak to whether the landscape contractor is still operating on site. You know, our zoning enforcement officer issued a cease and desist for these activities because they're not allowed in this residential zone.
And that's what I'm suggesting we do as part of this amended enforcement order, is do exactly that, is make it so clear that you will not be doing this anymore.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
And Jody, do you think can we find them from the time they get busted?
Well, let's give them a chance to keep complying first.
Well, I mean, they're complying, but they're also still continuing the operation.
Well, have we issued a cease and desist?
We're about to, through this action, right? I don't think we have yet.
Yeah, see, if we have not issued a cease and desist, there's no stop sign. If we make part of this amended EO a cease and desist and you know, whatever else we want done, then we have a stop sign. So you know, usually on an EO you issue a cease and desist and then you give a date certain to comply with the following conditions. So
Amy, let me stand corrected, or at least get clarification. We asked them to cease and desist the activity that had been going on, but we were silent to the landscaping activity, correct?
Correct.
The fact that they allow the landscape activity as an agent of their own property, they are in fact in violation of that cease and desist, are they not?
Yes.
I think we should whack them.
Again,
I think we should whack them.
I mean, I don't know.
I agree.
I don't know if, you know, based on both our enforcement order and the zoning enforcement officer's letter, that they've stopped, you know, the landscaping operation. I think, you know, it was evident when I first went out there that it was landscape debris. And I'm not sure that really much more has happened since then.
on your original letter, Amy, that you published on March 13th,
Yeah.
You hear it says you are hereby directed to take the following actions to begin to address these violations.
Right.
Number one, cease and desist all from further activity within the wetland resource area and the associated 100-foot buffer zone. So you already gave them a cease and desist.
Right.
So if the activities have continued beyond that, I think this letter serves as that document.
Okay.
I changed my opinion, Joe.
Well,
they've already given it to them, so.
Well, when I was out there in July with the wetland scientist, it really didn't appear like new stuff was in that area. So, of course, you know, it was between late April and July that I wasn't on site, but it really didn't look that much different to me. So if that helps at all.
Well, I guess only you can tell us because we haven't been out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, well, I'm sure you can tell the difference between grass that was thrown there in
right.
March and grass thrown there in July.
Right, right. And I think it was more just decomposition at that point.
And it has stopped at this point, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, as much as I want to, I don't think it's worth the fight of trying to prove it. You know, I think we very sternly into this amended order, you know, restate the cease and desist, and that's any other agents of the owner, you know, shall not be allowed to do that either. So just whatever it takes to just, you know, remind them of that. But I don't think we're going to get anything out of this without a hell of a lot of effort and proving of when it was done and who did it and to what extent.
Yeah, let's let Amy get out there and get the additional data that she wants, and we can amend by adding a plan to the requirement, because the original EO didn't specify what type of plan. So let's tell her we want a formal surveyed plot plan, and let Amy continue her investigation.
Fair enough.
Right, Jack? Jack?
Yeah, no additional.
Okay, Sean?
Nothing further here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the certified mail, May 13th, and it does say cease and desist.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's already said. So
yes, already been said.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So my motion was to amend the enforcement order by annexing the additional information to it, including the requirement for a formal surveyed plot plan.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Great.
The next one is 242-1751, 217 Salem Street.
Okay, so the commission will recall that a certificate of compliance request was before you. The issue of a stone trench along the lower section of the driveway was discovered that it was filled in with loam. The commission issued an enforcement order requiring restoration of the trench on or about before September 17th. The homeowner did remove the soil and the plantings and installed stones within the trench. So the stones are not in compliance with the spec on the detail plan. The detail plan requires a 6-inch minus riprap. And what we have out there is sort of a decorative rounded stone, maybe 1.5 to a couple inches at the most in terms of size. I had communicated with the homeowner and provided them with a copy of the approved plan. And in my email, I did state that the second page of the plan set had a specification for the riprap. So, so we're at a point where we've made some progress. And I think, you know, I'm doubtful that the small stone will hold up to really big storms, and we might have washout and, you know, erosion of the stone and the underlying soils. So, although we've made progress, I think we have to, you know, we have another step to get there.
Okay. I'll just interject and then I'll ask the questions. Joe, the stuff is, it appears to be riverbed stone. And the reason why they're round and smooth, as you know, is water lets them to keep tumbling. So they got these things on a slope. We recommended erosion stone for a reason. I still think they're non-compliant. So I just want to put my 2 cents in. Joe?
Yeah, I would, having not seen it, in the concept, I completely agree with you. It's unfortunate. I mean, it's great that they're making headway. We had hoped that would be what happens. I hope because of this that they're not going to, you know, lose their enthusiasm to continue to try to rectify it. But the reason for the stone is a performance thing, and if it's not going to hold up, it doesn't accomplish anything. I mean, other than showing good faith. And so I'm afraid to say I'm willing to let them have a little more time to try to solve it. It's not there yet.
Thank you, Joe. Al?
So I was asking this question earlier today. I just want to clearly understand, because I looked at the photographs of the stone they put in. So the spirit and intent of the order of conditions, specifically the specifics of the stone we wanted 6-inch size stones that were.
It's called erosion stone, Al.
And okay, and the erosion stone is the characteristic of it is that it's unlikely to be moved by water.
Correct. It's not smooth. It's jagged.
But it likely will stay in place. It's designed to have the water flow over it, but it'll stay in place and it'll act as the basin, as the bottom for it.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a monsoon, then it could still move, but it's very, very resistant.
So the round stones that they put in, which are more decorative, are they more likely to be moved by a water flow? Is that the issue?
Yeah, that's why they call it riverbed stone. Because as the river flows through it, these stones just turn. They're nice and smooth and they look pretty.
Okay.
But they serve no purpose for erosion protection.
Performance-wise, that's what I'm asking, because I want to be clear in my understanding. So they don't provide the erosion protection that the specified stone does.
Correct.
Okay, I don't have anything further. Thank you.
All right, Jack.
Yeah, my issue's on performance as well. If it's not going to improve the erosion situation, which is the intent, of the design, then it needs to change. And if that means going back to the 6-inch minus riprap, then that's what it takes. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack. Sean?
No questions.
Okay. All right,
Hey,
so-
Amy.
Yeah.
Well, this is Joe again. Amy, do you have a photograph of this area in those stones that you could share with us? Not for tonight, but I have a feeling we're going to continue to the next meeting. I'd like to see that.
Oh, yeah, I thought I attached it to,
They are attached. There are photos attached.
your,
The email?
yeah.
Which one? The certificate of compliance or the first one?
EO,
on certificate of EO, certificate of compliance.
it
EO
was sent today.
sent today, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't get a chance to see that.
Yeah, it's a JPEG, Joe. It opens right up.
Hey, if Louis seen it and I heard him describe it, I know the difference between river stone and polished or rounded decorative stone that certainly is not an erosion stone. So just in the concept, I agree with Lou.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the first at one of the pictures, Joe, where it meets the street, you can see the contour of the driveway. The water will run through that stone. It'll blow it right out into the street.
Yeah, I'm looking
I
at
don't
that.
even.
I'm looking at that, Lou. I have that photo up.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's 1.5 inches. I think it might be 3/4.
All right.
Okay, I'm all set. I understand this fine without a photograph. And I apologize. I didn't realize you had sent it.
No, it's okay.
Okay. All right. So we have enforcement in front of us.
Right.
So when is it?
Well, let me ask you something, Lou. I have to ask a question. I see we're on an enforcement order, but I also see right behind it there's a request for a COC.
Right.
For the same property. So, my apologies. I thought we were dealing with the COC request.
Oh, no. I wanted to get the enforcement situation addressed first before, because that's what held up the certificate of compliance in the first place.
Yeah.
All right. So, what do you need? What do you need to happen on this enforcement order?
I think an extension of time for the proper stone to be installed.
Do you want to vote on whether or not we regard that as compliance or not, or is that the next vote? Because they seem to be blended together, I think.
Well, I think the COC we can continue.
Yeah.
All right.
Once we clear the enforcement order.
Yep.
All right.
So I think we've made progress, and I think I would hate to see fines be instituted. I think we've made progress, but I think we just need to get the proper stone in there now.
Amy, is there any way I can? I'm sorry, is there any way I can speak about something?
Sure.
Hi, I'm Gabrielle. I'm the homeowner. So we didn't know, like, on the plans. So we had someone come out, obviously, and dig out how it was supposed to be. But then my husband, we did the rocks on our own. So we didn't know, like, what riprap meant. That's why we put those ones down. I mean, you can tell we're trying to fix it. How it's originally what it was not anything like I don't think it's supposed to be. So we really didn't know what to go off of. So we're trying to do it like the best we can. I do understand that obviously you're saying the rocks aren't correct, but could somebody like come out and show us maybe like exactly where these type of rocks have to go? Or is there any way like we can have someone come out and show us specifically where they need to be so we don't have any type of error again? Like we did. That's why when you came out, Amy, like a week and a half ago, I wanted you to come out before so so we didn't have this issue arise.
Right. Well, I think the location is the right location where you've put the stone. I think it's the type of stone that you need to source.
Okay. So like the whole thing has to be covered with these stones again, or can we just put it like in where the water would run? Like if you maybe come out
again, there's a spec on the second sheet of the plan set that details the width and the depth of the square.
So it's more like inside that like kind of gully hole where those rocks are in that spec, right? Not like, because we put them kind of a larger area.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you kind of, yeah, onto the belly. So I think if you could get, you need to follow the specification, and I think it's fairly straightforward.
Okay.
Amy, Louis, this is Joe. I got a question or a statement for Amy. I think, this situation is certainly different than most, where a homeowner's kind of trying to close out the order of conditions that, they understand at this point that they're obligated to participate in. And I think the request for guidance, though we're not obligated to provide it, I think the request for guidance, given the level of cooperation we're now getting, I think it's a fair question. And whatever we can do to help that is only going to make things go smoother for everybody.
Okay.
So if you're able to do it, and I understand things are difficult nowadays with time constraints and separation and whatnot, but we're down close to getting there, and I'd like to be able to be there.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
No,
is that okay? Okay.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. If someone could if you tell us exactly what you want, like, I just can't wait. We've spent like thousands to fill that in because we weren't aware we weren't supposed to do, and then we had to take it out. And now I just want to make it correct and not have to keep wasting money and your time, obviously.
Well,
So if you can just tell us the exact thing.
This is Lou Knapp, the chairman. I feel bad for you buying that stone because riverbed stone is expensive, and you spent more money on the riverbed stone than you would erosion stone.
I know, and what we did before to fill it all in the shrubs. And we never would have done that if we knew this. So I just want to make it the right way.
Well, looking at it, Joe, you could reinforce what I have to say. I think they could go and buy erosion stone and put it on top and choke it into the riverbed stone. This way, they don't have to buy as much, and it kind of will save some of the money that they have spent.
Without redesigning, without getting support of our colleagues, without redesigning it, that's exactly where I was going to go. Is what we want to achieve here is the intent, and that's to control the erosion, slow it down, make sure nothing migrates from the site, including the smaller stones. And I think you can do that by amending the stone that's out there with bigger stones. It almost has to be hand placed, but I don't mean methodically like a sculpture, but it needs to be done in such a way as that you choke it off enough to slow the water down, that when it hits the small stones go nowhere. And the leading edge of the driveway where the water does want to run, you do want the heavier erosion stone probably in a foot to 18 inches off the edge of the driveway to make sure no erosion does happen. But that's exactly where I was going, is I think you can amend what's there, and it will differ from the spec, but I think it accomplishes what we need it to accomplish.
Okay.
So I don't want to tell you how to do it, but like Joe said, cut from the street in, maybe I would say 2 feet, and just put the erosion stone in there. That'll prevent the little stones from going into the street.
Lou?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but in an effort to just get us out of the design phase, ask the applicant's contractor to make contact with Amy directly.
Okay.
So that Amy can tell the contractor, because I don't expect the homeowners to understand what we're saying.
Okay.
They're not in the business. I don't expect them to understand. So let's take them right out of the equation and put Amy in contact with the contractor directly, and then that'll solve this. Because otherwise, we could explain this for a million ways from Sunday, and I don't think they're going to understand it completely.
No, I agree. Amy, if you want some feedback on it, I'll give you some.
Okay, great. That sounds
All
good.
right.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna continue the enforcement order.
Yep.
All right, so let's vote on that.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. And the COC request, we're going to continue till the next meeting.
Yep.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Next one is 242-1723, COC request 67 and 87 Mollytown.
So the commission was just waiting for a signed affidavit from the new homeowners that they've received a copy of the order. We have that, and so we're all set, and we can issue a full certificate of compliance.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one is 242-628, a PCOC request for 60 Meadowwood Road.
Okay, so the commission will recall denying a previous request for a certificate of compliance for this property last summer. I gave you a copy of your denial letter, and your objection was based on the fact that there was no drainage easement that
What's your name?
was recorded at the registry, and that there weren't any, there wasn't a homeowners association established. The new homeowners engaged attorney, and she did some digging and found a drainage easement that was recorded, and found no evidence of a homeowners association required by any of the decisions of the town. I forwarded this current request to our town council to make sure that it was vetted through her, and she is in agreement with the summary of the applicant's attorney. I also spoke with John Borgese this afternoon and asked him about the roadway and drainage structures, and he confirmed that the roadway is town accepted. And I shared with him the drainage easement, and he was of the opinion that it is the town's responsibility for maintenance of the drainage structure. So that's sort of that in a nutshell in terms of findings since our last denial.
Joe?
Interesting to hear all that. This is Meadowwood off of 125.
Yes.
Just
yes.
This is the first time this has come up.
It's the first cluster, I believe, and it is the cluster.
Holy cow! I have no issues.
Okay. Al?
Lou, I just read town council's letter, and I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jack?
No questions here.
Sean?
No questions.
Motion?
I move to issue a PCOC as requested.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous.
Amy, let me ask a bigger question. Since this is a partial, that means we have a 25-year-old thereabouts subdivision that doesn't have a certificate of compliance. Are we still holding bond?
Mm.
Joe, I would bet that we are. I say that without any specific information. I don't have any advantage on information, but I don't ever remember this one ever coming in for a bond release or even a partial release.
That's almost the tongue-in-cheek statement of, I can't believe this has come up before, because it literally is almost 25 years old, and I'm shocked.
The same, without getting out of line here, the same individuals that would have been seeking the return of the bond for this project are the same individuals that walked away from the bond on Foxwood. So they've already demonstrated a propensity to walk away. So that's why it wouldn't surprise me in the least. And that's as much as I want to say about it.
I ask that in the context that maybe, and again, this probably is an ominous undertaking, but we probably should look at old bonds and status and accounts. We should move to seize them.
You don't want to know. I've tried that. I've tried that from the previous town manager about it, because if I told you how much money there was, you'd have a heart attack.
Well, Lou, let's try it again. Let's try it again. Let's have.
I think we should revisit the question and make a decision in the 2020 light.
Yeah, absolutely. We should absolutely revisit it, and maybe have some research done by. Do we have somebody? Amy, do you have somebody on staff that could start doing this research?
It's already been done, and it's in place.
All right. Well, then let's.
I was told by the previous town manager that it would cost more money to get to acquire it than to get it. And
you know what?
Some of these people are dead.
Let's request a meeting with the current town manager and current town council, and as many of us as want to can attend that meeting, and let's see what we can do.
Okay.
It's worth a shot.
I think it's an effort visiting.
When the meeting is over, I'll tell you how much.
Okay.
Yeah, no, don't. I wouldn't say a word on this line.
We'll do it over a coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll meet at town hall and we'll do it there. I wouldn't go anywhere else with it.
Very good.
I have trust issues on these things,
All right, I will. How about the next order is 2020 hunting dates.
All right, so in our zone, it's October 5th through November 28th. And Jamie is working hard to coordinate with our IT department to get these applications online so that they could perhaps apply online. But we just wanted to give you an update.
Remember that we give residents preference on everything first.
Exactly. Yes. Yep. And then keeping track as to how many hunters in any given week.
Amy, let me ask a question. We used to ask the hunters to complete a survey if we had guys returning from the previous year.
Yes.
Prior to issuing them their new permit for this year, we asked them to complete a wildlife observation survey for their time in the field. Did they observe? And we had 5 or 6 species we were looking for.
Yeah.
Is that still happening, or did that fall apart?
Oh, no. We're still requiring it, and we got one back. And if any of the previous other hunters that hadn't done their surveys yet request, we'll require that they submit that.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep. No.
Amy, my concern with the online, you're proposing to do it through Viewpoint?
I think so.
Probably. I mean, that's the online permitting software. So my guess would be with October 5th, literally around the corner, and
I know.
some of these hunters not being tech savvy.
Right.
We need doing this online may not be the appropriate way to do it to really let the folks who've been hunting in these areas continue to hunt in these areas.
Okay.
I think we do it paper one more time.
Okay.
Lou, I mean, Al, what do you think on that?
I agree 100% because you're absolutely right. It's next week, so.
Yeah, it came upon us pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's been one of those years.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll call off the troops on that then.
Let's go simple. Let's keep it simple.
Okay.
All right. The next one is Royal Crest redevelopment. We're supposed to set up a subcommittee. I already asked 2 commissioners. I asked Joe and Al to be part of this. I'm also including this, but if Sean or Jack want to be involved in this, I will gladly step aside.
I'll gladly step aside too. I'm not looking for any additional work either. So anybody that feels strongly about it can have my seat.
I just want to say it's going to require a lot of work. What they're requesting is pretty extensive. I've only seen the conceptual drawing. I have not seen a construction drawing, but it's pretty impressive. But they showed us Disney World, and I don't think that's a reality. So, thinking that they're going to keep stormwater on the site is, I find it very hard to believe.
So if they're proposing to max the site out, like some other sites we've seen in town maxed out, it's going to be more work than you can imagine.
Oh, I know.
Lou, let me ask the question. Is there an application before us, and is it appropriate to have a subcommittee before there's an application?
No, what I did was, instead of them coming before us with like 9,000 things that aren't going to happen, I thought that we should have a subcommittee to review most of the stuff, before they make a formal presentation.
The planning board is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little unorthodox, and I'd want to be very cautious that we're there to give feedback of if this were before us, but we are not going to design their site for them under
That's right. They're looking for they're looking for consultants here, and you got to be careful.
No, I don't want that to happen.
What they're doing is we can look at the site and we can tell them what we think is red flag, which is pretty obvious. And naturally, there's going to be a third party review, but I think it helps to have a little overview from the commission before, and then just like we did at Amazon, you look at what they have, then you report back to us, and we move accordingly, like just as if they were a regular applicant. But some of the requests are going to be ridiculous. So let's set up the meeting with the town manager on that other subject, and then we can talk about this at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for efficiency, and TRC is historically has been the platform from which to vet out issues, and staff knows what it is their commissions and boards are looking for. It's pretty unorthodox to be doing it up front, but we'll give them enough string to hang themselves, and if it gets to the point that we are in fact being used as consultants and hoping that they're going to usher it through the commission, I'd be real reluctant to let that happen.
No, I hope. I'm just trying to say it. I'm trying to make it as easy for us and them at the same time, because what I saw, I haven't seen any construction drawings. I just saw the pictures of people walking on sidewalks and buildings, and so
eye candy.
Eye candy, exactly. I'm just trying to give them some guidance that that we can look at a stormwater plan and just
hey Lou, just tell them the best. If you want to give them guidance, tell them not to ask for any waivers. That's the best guidance they can get.
I know. I mean, there's a lot to it. There's a 40B in it. There's a hotel in it. There's commercial space in it. There's townhomes in it. There's dorms in it. There's rental units in it. Yeah. I mean, I really think that it would be helpful to have a subcommittee to at least look at it and report back to the commission for when they do apply. It's not so overwhelming to the rest of the commission. That's why I thought we should have it, and I proposed it and to the town manager, and she was all for it. And I like Amy said, the planning board is doing it. I think zoning's going to do it. Building's going to do it. It's a humongous project.
Yeah, it's almost like a subcommittee of boards and commissions doing the TRC aspect really at that next higher level. But I mean, I'll hear about it and I'll participate. I don't mind doing that. I'm just a little cautious of where that might ultimately go.
Right. No.
Well, I'll say the same thing. I'll participate, but I'll be real cautious also.
Yeah.
That's why I ask for you guys, because this is not your first rodeo.
Yeah.
So I mean, you guys know how to react, and so wouldn't Sean and Jack. If either of you want to be part of it, I will gladly step aside.
I think Sean should join in too.
You want Sean?
I think Sean should be drafted in.
I'm not going to speak for anybody's time, but whoever wishes to. I mean, we all have something to offer here.
They're pretty silent, those two.
If either one of you guys want to be part of this subcommittee of Al, Joe, and whoever. I'm not hearing anybody jump up and down.
Hey, Lou, let's give everybody a chance to think about it, and let's move on to the next thing.
Okay. All right, it's decision time.
Okay, let's make them.
It's 242-1783, 1160 Great Pond Road, Brook School.
Yep.
So what we got out of that is placards, a wall, and meadow mowing schedules.
Right.
That just came out tonight.
So yeah, and you know, the thing that I heard loud and clear was they're looking for a once a year mowing to prevent woody vegetation, and the discussion that I heard sounded like there was agreement.
Yes.
I think there was. Do we, what sort of requirement? We have a standard requirement on mowing when we do it, probably to even our own haying agreement. We just want them to notify the commission.
There's a date. There's actually a date, Joe. I think it's August. I think sometime in August it has to be done on or after this certain date in August to give the nesting species a chance to get out of there.
So I want our decision to be consistent with what we've done in the past, because it only makes sense.
That's why I'm saying there's a date in our previous decisions, and also in the haying of like Half Mile Hill. There's a date certain that they cannot start before.
Okay.
It would be easy to find that.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was like the middle of June.
No, we pushed it.
It's
It got
later
pushed
than
back.
that? Okay.
It got pushed back because the middle of June is too early for some of the species. They're still there.
Right.
I want to say it was August 1st, I believe.
For
by
Half
August,
Mile Hill?
yeah, I think so.
And you want it to be
Half Mile
dry
Hill-
too.
Half Mile mowed about 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks
What?
ago.
What's that?
Half Mile Hill got mowed about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Really?
but I mean, he could have. Whoever it was that cut it could have probably cut it earlier if he had the weather, because it's a weather dependent thing too. But I want to say it was either August 1st or August 5th or something like that. And that's consistent with the Mazarenko property and all our other properties. We tell them not to cut before that certain date. Whatever that date is, we just need to find it in the records and make it consistent with this one.
And I think at Half Mile Hill, it dealt with the plover up there specifically.
Okay.
Really?
Woodcock?
The piping plovers are all over that place, and they have their eggs and.
Clovers.
Yeah, no. There's all the open fields, all the open meadows and fields that we either cut or that we allow owners to cut. We give them a date, and I'm grasping here to try to remember
I'll
it.
look it up. I'll.
But you could, I know you can find it if you look at the mowing agreement for Half Mile. That'll have the date in it.
Okay.
And Al, on that issue, I just remember a number of years ago, somebody brought up the issue, and we actually modified the date because of recommendations made by somebody because of the piping plovers and their eggs.
Yeah, piping plovers, bobolinks, turkeys. They're all open.
Bobolinks.
The bobolinks are out there, but also the turkeys nest in the open field, and and they typically they'll hatch sometime in late June, early July, and they need time to get out of there. So I know it's an August date that we tell them, so it works pretty good.
Okay. So let's see, what did I do?
And I think there was a stone wall. Joe described where he wanted the stone wall.
Yes, I have the wetland flags written down.
Yeah, between 1 and 9.
Yes, yep.
I had discussed, but it really didn't go to conclusion, was to add placards in a few locations along that wall line.
Yes.
So, whether it's 3 or 4, I guess, Amy, you could look at the distance and throw the appropriate number in.
Yep. Okay.
Does everybody agree with placards as well as the wall?
Yeah.
Yes.
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 So I did 2,000 for a bond.
That doesn't sound good to me, but I'll defer to the rest of the commission. It seems
What-
weak.
Well, how big is the area of impact?
Well,
I mean, that's got to be the standard we look at, the size.
The removal of the existing entrance is inside the 25. And so it's pretty close. And then the other close part is the riprap velocity reducer discharge point inside the 50.
Yeah,
I think it's $5,000.
yeah, I'll second that.
Okay.
Sounds reasonable to me.
All right. Let's see.
Ready to move it?
Yeah, no, there's another, what did I say it? The dewatering plan. Do you think they're gonna need it? I think it should reflect on the plan if they're gonna have one.
The only place they're doing any real excavation is in the drain line, which is the closest, which is the area we've been debating so long. Yeah, I think they should show a dewatering plan.
Okay.
If it's next to a wet meadow, that pipe is likely to be down in moist areas.
Okay. So you want dewatering plan and dewatering BMPs on site from the get-go?
Well,
yeah, yes, yeah, they should have them on site. I don't remember having test pits or any evidence of test pits.
Right.
We don't really know where water table is, so we got to assume they're going to be into it.
And I would say so they're gonna make a dewatering pit ahead of time, right? Not after the fact.
Right.
Because it says dewatering activity shall be monitored daily by the erosion control monitor.
Right.
So they're gonna dig the dewatering pit ahead of time.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I amended it so that it says that.
Okay. Because it cracks me up. They want to do that. Well, we'll have everything ready in case you need it. Well, by the time you need it, it's too late.
Too late. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and actually, condition 64 kind of says that you have to get reviewed and approved dewatering methods ahead of time, but it's listed in during construction. So
okay.
Maybe that should be prior to construction.
Yep, I will move that.
Good catch, Jack.
Okay. All right.
All right. Any more questions? If not, motion?
Just one thing,
sorry.
in terms of waiver for the velocity discharge reducer, I should also add language about allowing work for removal of the existing south entrance, which is in the 25. I mean, it's there, so it necessitates work.
That wasn't even listed in his filing, was it?
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. Amy, on condition 75 after construction, it says annual mowing.
Oh, yeah.
To be done in late fall. I think we want to put the dates, we want to put a date certain on that.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Or after what, Al, maybe August 1st or whatever date we researched to be the one.
Alan, Jack, on that one, I think that we should be no earlier than that date certain, the conservation administrator shall be notified of when they intend to mow. And I think we need to verify that, there's not something crazy going on with the ecosystem out there that maybe makes sense to push it out a week or two later. I think we need to kind of verify that this is the appropriate time to mow. What do you think, Al?
Yeah, no objection. You could make it no sooner than this date, and then provided that the administrator signs off. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we want to
because
get.
you don't know what's going to be. You don't really know what's going to settle in there.
We want it to be later than the nesting birds, but we want it to be dry enough because we know extra water is going to be going down there.
Well, that's why the month of August. August is the driest and best
You got
time.
it.
August
I
is
agree.
just the best month. You can do anything in August.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Okay.
So we're all good? Any more questions?
Do we have
Not
a stone? Like during construction, are we conditioning that on one of our conditions?
Say that one more time.
Are we, okay, the stone wall is not proposed in the drawing, so if we're going to condition it, it'll be during construction, and I think it'll be between condition 63 and 74, I guess. Right?
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Then you've got the wetland flags and then the specifics on that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay.
Motion?
We had a motion. We're looking for a motion. We have a
Move
motion.
Move that we adopt the order of conditions as amended.
Second.
All those in
Third.
favor say aye. Fourth and
Aye.
fifth.
Aye.
Aye.
Right, that's
Aye.
unanimous. Okay. Last but not least, decision. 242-1781 Osgood Street, 125 sidewalk extension.
Lou, before we get into the actual meat of the decision, you voted in opposition. Is there something that we are missing that we would make you feel more comfortable if we conditioned it?
No, because I don't like building a project on either end and leaving the middle out. And I think that where they want to put it in the middle is going to be an issue, and they're going to spend more money than they would on the whole project. And when they do finally put that, there's another issue. There's a high pressure gas line that runs right along 125. So that's going to be another issue over there on that
So you're
side.
talking about issues of practicality and not necessary resource areas that anything we can condition is not going to make you more comfortable.
Well, the resource area in that gap is going to be a good sized impact. I mean, they're going to put a bridge or a dam or whatever they're going to do across from the Mexican place to the strip mall there. And I talked with the director and we, he was, we were talking and I thought that the walk should go on the other side, because DOT wants that when you come off 125 and that little offshoot there to get onto Sutton Street, they want to get rid of those. They all across the state because it's dangerous, and I know it's dangerous because I have the street on Oak Clark Road, and I'm waiting for somebody to hit one of the back of my trucks. My trucks are pulling out at 5 miles an hour, and these guys are coming around the corner doing 30 and 40. So I think, and the cars that go in to get service to Mary's, there's been at least 3 accidents that I know of. I mean, cars getting T-boned. So I think if they put the sidewalk on that side, widen the intersection, you know, oh, it's money. Well, why are we fixing things or putting money into projects that, you know, it's like just throwing money away. I mean, I know they got to get it done, and it's date sensitive. So I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not against the It just I wasn't brought up that way, so I can't condone projects that to me are white elephants.
Okay, so I understand that better now, and so from a wetlands protection perspective, there's nothing that they propose that wouldn't otherwise be approvable, and there's nothing we can do to make it better to ameliorate your concerns.
Correct. No, I agree. I agree with you, but even though it doesn't address wetlands issues, it goes against everything that I believe in. So that's why I voted no.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I just want to make sure we address Lou's concerns.
Thank you.
Okay, Amy.
Okay. All right. So. So, condition number 33 talks about granting the waiver for work in the 25 and the 50. Hopefully that's adequate.
That's actually exactly how I saw it, Amy.
Okay.
There was no alternative given the proximity, and there was a net improvement by curbing and separations than what's there now.
Okay. Okay. Then what did I do? I did 3,500 for a bond.
Well, I have a problem with that myself. Is the town going to do this themselves, or is this going off a contract?
Oh, good question.
We always have to assume that it's going out to contract, Lou. We don't see the town doing any of their own work anymore, really.
No, but well then it says the.
I mean, when's the last time you saw town employees actually doing this work? I can't remember the last time.
Or they have you know, they have their own a contract under that are under contract. So
understood.
They already,
I know you're talking.
Have bonds.
I know you're talking about, Lou. You're talking about a service contract that's in place to do sidewalks wherever we want one for the course of the whole year, as opposed to going out to bid as a project unto itself.
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't either, it sticks in my craw. I think it's going to go to an outside contractor, but I'm not sure the contractor that's doing the work already, I surmise is going to just keep going.
So Lou, let me just make a suggestion. Let's set a bond, and they're always free to come in and ask us to reduce it.
Well, I think the bond is too low. If it's not made up, if it's not to the town, I don't want the town to bond themselves.
The town's not going to bond themselves. The town isn't going to bond themselves. So let's assume it's a contractor. Let's set a number. If they change the way they're going to do it, we can always amend it.
I think it should be 5,000.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Same here. Amy, do you know the funding source? Is this like a MassWorks grant, or is this a P-WED grant?
Yes, it's a it's money left over from the that sidewalk project that was MassWorks.
So then
Proviano did.
That's not going to be done with the service contract. That's going to go out to bid. It has to.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Amy, had something different opinion, or?
No.
Yeah, 5,000 is the right number.
Yeah, I think it should be, how can we word that, Joe, to make that, say that it is gonna be a performance bond paid by the, awarding contractor? Can we write that in that?
I think it's already said. I don't think it has to be said.
No, we was looking to be more specific.
I know.
Similar to what we did for the Barker Street culvert.
Yeah, or Granisi doing the sewer pipe going through the woods. But I know, I'm almost positive, Joe, 99% positive it's a Mass Works project. It's money left over from the sidewalk project on 125.
Yeah, if we use language similar on Baca Culvert and the Granise or sewer repair, let's try to mimic that.
Okay.
The reality is, it's going to just come right down to most of these contractors aren't used to putting up a cash bond. They like to float surety bonds, and they're going to pass the cost of that bond, the borrowing of the bond, onto the town as part of the contract. It's just being mixed into the general conditions. You'll never see it. But putting up a cash bond is kind of foreign to them. But the reality is, they do a good job. They get it all back. So
right.
That's what we've always said, Joe, right? Isn't that what we've always said? That it guarantees compliance.
That's exactly our goal. So I don't think we waive from that.
Yeah, no, it's there to guarantee compliance. It's not there to be punitive. So let's just guarantee the compliance and move on.
Let them figure it out. Yep.
That's it's not our problem to figure out. That's right.
Okay, that's the only question I have. Any other questions?
Because Lou, anybody that's in business, in that type of business that doesn't understand how to handle their bonding and their performance, we don't want them working it. They shouldn't be. We don't want them. So,
Well, to be truthful, Al, if a contractor does not have to post a bond, he's happy as a clam.
Well, and not only that, it increases the likelihood of a walk away. So
absolutely, I agree with you 100%.
So that's all it's for. That's the purpose of it. It's to guarantee performance, nothing more.
Right.
Hey, Amy, look at that Mass DOT project as well. Mass Ave at 125.
Yeah. Oh.
What?
I don't think you did it. You didn't have any bond for that one.
Yeah.
Really?
That was because it was a state project and they were not going to post a bond. That's why.
I was just going to say that's the difference is that's a state project and they think they're exempt anyway. So.
Yeah.
And they got that guy with 2.5 years experience telling us. So.
Yeah, now he's in charge. Now he's in charge of Mass Highway.
He might as well be he could be the governor next year.
Okay.
All right, how we doing? Are we through it? Do we get it done?
I think we're there.
So we figured out how to make a 2-hour meeting go 3 hours plus.
Well,
so pretty good.
We had a pretty big agenda.
I know.
So we need a motion to accept the decision as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Signature authorization. Need a motion?
Move it
Allow
again.
Amy to sign.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay.
There's a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Amy, what did we talk about today? I know it's late, but we can always do it at the next meeting. What were we going to talk about? Was there something we were going to talk about that we should discuss? Oh, was it the fees when somebody has to keep going out?
Yeah, or checking wetland lines.
I mean, we can do this now. We can do this next meeting, but just food for thought. A wetland scientist goes out and flags an area. Our administrators got to go out and make sure the flags are correct. I mean,
there's a fee for that already. There's a fee for that already. There's a wetland review, wetland line review fee.
That's true.
There
There
is,
already
well
is one.
then,
Forgot
well,
about
then make sure we use it, Amy.
Oh, yeah.
Because at this moment, Amy is overworked and underpaid.
Lou, let me just say something here, okay? That fee better be being assessed because I paid one when I filed something.
Oh, no,
okay?
absolutely, absolutely.
I mean,
Okay.
I paid a wetland line review fee that was in the thousands of dollars because of the size of the line. That's what they're supposed to be doing.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no. We have a fee checklist or a fee worksheet, and that's definitely one of the lines that they have to fill out. So.
And then every time you go out for a second time or third time or fourth time, they charge accordingly.
Yeah, that's the intent of that. That's why we established that in the first place, so that they wouldn't be using our staff to delineate a line for them. That was the whole purpose of it.
Got it.
Yeah, because we just had one recently, and it just didn't sit well with me, and I know what she does every day. So I mean, it's not. I mean,
no, Lou, if like, for example, I'm not going to mention anybody by name, but if Amy has to go out to the same line 3 times, they should get a bill for the review every time.
Exactly.
And that should be happening. So please make it happen, because when we established these fees, that was a big ticket item.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I agree. You got that, Amy?
Yep. Got it.
Now you're under orders to charge these people.
Oh boy. Okay.
No, Amy, it's not punitive. It's that's a standard thing throughout the industry.
Yeah.
We're back to we did the same things. I mean, she spends hours writing the orders, and people ignore them. That bugs me. So
the fire department charges you to come out to check your smoke detectors. There's inspection fees all over the place. That's the way it works.
They charge you $200 a year to look at my fire alarm at the garage.
That's what I'm saying.
They don't even come up. It's just charged.
But this is the cost of doing business. It's what it is. That's municipal government. That's how they operate. So.
Well, like I said, at some point when we have a charter meeting, we should address all these things. And like I said, Amy, I tell her all the time, do what you can and charge accordingly.
Lou, I'm going to volunteer you and me to form a subcommittee to review the fees.
Exactly. Thank you. I'll do that.
All right. Good. All right.
And then we should look at some point. We got to look at the bond structure also.
Well, don't make the subcommittee too busy. No, don't kill us with work.
We'll nominate another bond committee.
We'll draft more people. Okay. All right. Good.
There you go. All right. Motion to adjourn.
I got one question. Any development on the appointment of a new person?
Yes. Oh, we're waiting.
Yes. So,
right, Sean, are you in?
What's that?
You talking about new commissioner, Joe?
Yes.
Yeah. Hold on.
Okay.
Looking up. Okay. So. I checked in with Jillian Brothers, who's a part-time executive secretary, and I asked how things were, and she said I haven't heard from the Board of Selectmen. I know there were 2 interviewed. I'll send out a follow-up to find out their thoughts. And then I said, there was one candidate that we objected to, and we let Melissa know, and she said, yes, we're aware, and she believes that October 5th meeting of the Board of Selectmen would be appointment time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, we have been staying on it.
Yep.
But that's how that goes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we all good?
Yeah.
Got a
motion to adjourn. Did we have one?
You have one.
We have one now.
Okay.
You have one.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous.